All right, good evening, everybody. We are going to open tonight's study session for Tuesday, May 7th. The time is now 6:30. Roll call, please.
Member Baxley?
Here.
Member Jones?
Here.
Member Hickson? Here. Member Langendorf here. Member Staton, are you here? Vice President Exum?
Here.
Member Staton?
We have somebody new doing the.
Oh, here she, yeah. She just popped in, John.
Yeah, she's the.
Okay.
You want to call her one last time?
He's getting the volume up, the volume's not on.
Can we just recognize her? She's here? We'll just recognize that Member Staton is here on Zoom. Are there any additions, corrections, or modifications to tonight's agenda? Any citizen statements? If there's anyone in the audience that would like to make a citizen statement, please move quickly to our recording secretary, Lori Johnson, on the end. All right, seeing none, is there a motion for approval of the agenda?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, moving into accommodations and recommendations, Dr. Franklin.
Good evening, everyone. So excited to see so many people here in the audience as part of our class of 2024 Unsung Heroes, and we have several supporters of our staff members that were nominated, and so we're going to go ahead and just jump right in. If you'll change it to the next slide. Thanks. We are privileged to recognize so many staff members in Urbana who consistently go above and beyond in their positions. The Unsung Hero Award is an opportunity for the district staff to nominate their colleagues who deserve a moment to shine. I will also share that the late Mrs. Gail Jeffries, former Assistant Superintendent of Human Resources, was the originator of this prestigious award. So the folks that were nominated this year, again, were nominated by their peers, and their peers wrote very nice things about them. We have a little snippet in a video, but I'll go ahead and read. And they're in alphabetical order by first name. Amy Lawrence, UMS teacher. If you'll stand or wave if you're already standing. Oh my gosh, we have signs. I love it. Beth Gatchie, Gerber Assistant Principal. Brianna McKenzie, Tiger Academy SEL Specialist. I will after the video. Brittany Nelson, Yankee Ridge teacher. Carla Chambers, UHS Student Relations Supervisor. Chad Harper, Co-Director of After School. Denardo Williams, Thomas Paine Student Engagement Advocate. Aaron Claxon, UMS Choir Director. Erin Thompson, Thomas Paine Social Worker. Eva Martone, UMS Social Worker. Felicia Tufano, UHS English Teacher. Helen Edwards, Thomas Paine Special Education Teacher. Jared Beckley, Thomas Paine Teaching Assistant. Julia Stell, Central Office Administrative Assistant. Caitlin Dorsch, Thomas Paine Special Education Teacher. Cameron Colgrove, Urbana Early Childhood Custodian. Kishla Rivera Toledo, UMS Long-Term Substitute Teacher. Kanisha Evans, UMS Student Engagement Advocate. Lisa Burial, Adult Ed, ELA Coordinator and Instructor. Lorena Griffin, Thomas Paine Instructional Coach. Mandy Nelson, Yankee Ridge Teacher. A return awardee, Marcy Bowman, UMS Teaching Assistant. Our next awardee had 7 nominations. He was the candidate that had the most nominations. Mario Gamez, UHS Bilingual Teaching Assistant. Melanie Furchow, Yankee Ridge Assistant Principal. Nellie Alcala, Urbana Early Childhood Bilingual Family Coordinator. Princess Jones, UHS Student Engagement Secretary. Reed Anderson, UHS Bilingual Teacher. Renee McElwain, Urbana Early Childhood Instructional Coach. Ryan Jackson, Urbana School District Custodian. Ms. Shalonda Pelmore, UMS Office Manager. Stacy Peterick, UHS and District Instrumental Music Teacher. Stephanie Menold Smith, UMS Social Worker. Sarah Young, how did I skip you? Sarah Young, Student Engagement Advocate. Thank you. I did say Stephanie, right? Okay. Wenda Witherspoon Townsend, DPW, Building-Based Substitute. Yolanda Fundamera, UHS Life Skills Teaching Assistant. And I saw Kanisha Evans walk in the door. If you want to wave, we said your name just not too long ago. Do we have some more people that have come in? Well, we're getting ready to show our video, and then we'll call up and give you your plaques too. So if you just walked in and missed it, then, and if I don't see you, then we'll make sure that you're recognized too. On behalf of Urbana School District 116 and the Board of Education, Dr. Ivory Tatum, District Administration, and the HR team, thank you, Class of 2024, unsung heroes who make Urbana a better place. All right, so Recruitment and Retention Coordinator Brandon McFarland's going to assist me passing out plaques for those that are present. Thank you so much for coming. You're welcome to stay for the board meeting if you wish, or you're welcome to go celebrate your award with friends and family. So thank you for coming. Special shout out to Aubrey in Human Resources who pulled together the video. She is amazing. So thank you so much. Board, I did share the video with you in the presentation in case you weren't able to read it as fast, so you can take a look at it a little bit later. I also have a sick kid with one sick kid on deck, so I'm going to be taking off. Okay? All right. Thank you.
All right, so we will move forth with our student ambassador report next.
Yay.
Paulina? Okay. Hold on.
Wait, oh. Hold on. There we go. Okay. I'm going to start off with the student ambassador's report. First off, there's human rights. There are a few issues up here that I felt like I need to address to the board and that a lot of people have came to me with. So please keep an open mind to change, and I would like to have your undivided attention for these few slides. Thank you. Um, 504 plans. Many students that have 504 plans, including myself, have experienced teachers like arguing and not paying attention to our 504 plans because 504s are not seen as important as IEPs, unfortunately. Many students have experienced that along with me, my brother, some of my friends. The respect that I got towards my IEP was tremendous, but when it changed to a 504 plan, teachers hardly even noticed it. I would like you to think what can the board do and the administrators do to help 504s be more recognized and respected? And how can the administration and the board raise awareness towards 504 plans in this issue? This has happened to a lot of people, and I remember other citizens coming up to the board when we did citizen statements with this exact concern. Many 504 children and families are underrepresented due to this ignorance. And yeah, 504 plans are a federal act. Therefore, students, staff, and administrators ignoring 504s is against the law. So this is very important to us, and this is not just a district-wide issue. It is also a human rights and civil rights issue, so please act as soon as you can. Thank you. The gender-neutral bathrooms, there are only 2 gender-neutral bathrooms at UHS. One of them is pretty hidden away, and many people don't know where it is. The other one is always locked, so that's kind of weird. There's a multitude of gender non-conforming or transgender students at UHS. And being gender non-conforming or trans is pretty common here. Why aren't there more gender-neutral bathrooms that are made known and accessible to students? That's what many people are wondering. And what can the school board and admin do to ensure that transgender and gender non-conforming students have the same rights as cisgender students at UHS? For all gender non-conforming or transgender people that need to know where one of the 2 gender-neutral bathrooms is, it's in the UHS counselor's office, and I don't know where the second one is. Because no one really knows where it is. All they know is like on the 2nd floor, and then they like go to the office for help or something. So if you need help finding that one, ask the main office. I have a question for the board. How many gender neutral bathrooms are in UMS? Does anyone know that answer? Okay, thank you. A lot of students want to know about like if there are other gender neutral bathrooms. Staff respect and microaggressions. Other students and I have received a lot of microaggressions from teachers and staff. And I won't specify, but I believe the staff do need professional development classes on prejudice and racial diversity, ethnic inclusion, and microaggressions. A lot of people don't feel comfortable speaking out about this, so I'm trying to help speak for them too, because this has put a lot of a damper on people's days. Anyways, people who have made these microaggressions, they often didn't really notice what they were doing, and they thought they would never discriminate or make a microaggression. But if we all think that we don't need to change, then nothing will ever change. If we think that we don't need to be reminded of racial bias, then what happened to me and other students at USD 116, from USD 116 teachers and staff as a 14-year-old or 17-year-old, both have happened to me through those ages, could happen to a lot of more youth and children of color. So yeah, I think that this is a huge issue, and below are some academic sources and articles from Google Scholar for how and why to include racial bias and prejudice on professional development in schools. Community feedback. Another community member brought this up to my attention. She said that the district should have an infographic in different languages for those who are new to the community and those who want to know basic and important district information. For instance, an infographic with like demographics, where the bus routes are, statistics, where free food is for people that need it, places for like immigrants or people to go to for immigrants. She thinks this, and I think this is crucial, because not everyone knows these resources because they don't know where to get them, and they don't always have the privilege to come to board meetings where they can find out. So me and her believe that this infographic should be made accessible to everyone and plastered like just everywhere in Urbana so that people can get all the information they need pretty easily. Another anonymous community member and I would like to politely ask the board to refrain from advertising or calling the district a place for neighborhood schools, because community members believe it is not a place of neighborhood schools. This is because children and families who have settled down in Urbana looking to go to their neighborhood school have had to be redistricted, making them either buy a new house in Urbana, move, or take a lot more time to get to the school they have been redistricted to. So that is why I have gotten community members coming to me being like, hey, they should stop like advertising this as a community neighborhood school. So yeah, just like to change that phrase to something more accurate. Student feedback. Student wants part 1 of 2. I'll make this quick 'cause it's a lot. Students really want an AP government class because they think it would really benefit them for students who want to go into law, government, or politics. And a lot of seniors don't have a lot of AP classes, like opportunities for AP classes. Well, they don't really have any. Maybe one. I think there's one. Yeah, AP Human Geography. Student parking lot. Students have been urging for large periods of time to please expand the student parking lot because it's only on a very small part of gravel. They desperately have been urging me to ask the district to expand the parking lot of UHS and the student parking lot of UHS into the grassy area right next to the parking lot. It's like a huge field. Yeah. Okay, I'll make this quick too. Students are not allowed through doors 10 and 1 after lunch. Other UHS students have brought up the idea that doors 1 and 10 should be open to enter through when coming back from lunch instead of only having one door. If metal detectors is an issue, then could the district possibly purchase more if they can to use when a multitude of students are coming from out of school grounds for lunch? Because the metal detector was brought up to me from other students, and they said it's because like students are often coming in late due to long lines because there's only one door they can enter through. And then the agriculture garden. It is said that some people in the district are trying to remove the agriculture garden and to make it the student parking lot, which is sad, especially because the ag students in the FFA club, Future Farmers of America, love this garden. If you can do anything to prevent this, please do, because it's very beloved and means a lot to many students. This would help our world's environment, and it would keep the club, FFA, and the ag classes going strong. Bathroom cleanness. We understand that the school board is trying to fix this issue and create improved bathrooms, as we are genuinely grateful for this. But there are still big issues that a lot of students at UHS have complained about. The sinks don't work very well, and some don't really work at all. The bathrooms have a really bad smell, and the toilets don't flush. Yeah, there are a lot of like blood stains all over the bathrooms and pee, and poop. Yeah. And then I uploaded a photo of the out of order sign because that is like one of the first times I've ever seen an out of order sign on one of the stalls that were actually out of order. Normally you have to like figure out it's out of order once you're done going to the bathroom. That's fun. So I've gotten many complaints about this from students, like loads of students. So please try to do all you can to fix this issue, to fix the sinks and the toilets. Thank you. What's popping in UST 116? This next slide, I know John is gonna like. Okay. Look who showed up. Yeah, look, guys, look who showed up, everyone. Administrators John Gutzmeyer and Katie Rowland went to the UHS blood drive held by the UHS Journalism Club. Thank you so much to all the volunteers that showed up and saved a life, and to the Journalism Club for setting this up. We are grateful that we have administrators helping our community and volunteering. It's funny that they heard about this blood drive by like looking back at the slides from the student ambassador's presentation. And I hope our administrators and board members continue to volunteer in their free time if they can. Yay. Leo Fun Fair and Math Night. The Leo Fun Fair will be May 17th, 2024 at Leo Elementary. And this will be a great chance for Leo School students to just have a break from all their hard work they've been doing. And then the National Honor Society at UHS. The members there are going to be assisting running the fun fair and helping the kids. And then Leo Math Night was April 30th, 2024 at Leo Elementary. And this was a chance for students to learn more about math, play math games, spend time with their family and friends, and win prizes, like math prizes and math games. And then I saw USD 116 board member Sitlali standing with her children at Leo Math Night. So it was cool because she had her little kids there. It's cute. And then the Dr. Williams Multicultural Day, UHS Ballet Folklorico, which is a dance group at UHS, and then the UHS/UMS Joint Mariachi performed at the Dr. Williams Multicultural event last week on Friday, May 3rd, along with a lot of other groups for the Dr. Williams Elementary School students, staff, family, teachers, faculty, etc. And they all enjoyed seeing performances from Africa, Latin America, and more. This was a big hit, and it was like very powerful and meaningful to see the kids, like they were very interested, and they were like giving us their full undivided attention, which was like really surprising because they're like kids, like very little, but it's impressive and it was very respectful, so I appreciate that. Thank you, Dr. Williams Elementary, for a great inclusive event celebrating diversity and introducing different cultures to these kids. The last slide is the Thomas Paine Carnival. Thomas Paine held a carnival May 3rd, 2024. The UHS National Honor Society volunteered at this carnival, and me and Dominica were so glad that the elementary school did this because it gives kids an opportunity to just be kids. When I was a kid, I loved like the Leo Fun Fair and going to these like little carnival fair events because it allowed me to just like have fun with my friends, like win prizes, and just like feel free. So thank you, Thomas Paine, for giving these students a carnival and a break. Yay. Thank you for your time and attention.
Thank you, Paulina.
Yeah.
Is there any board questions? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I have a couple questions for some of the items that you had. On the microaggressions, you had some links. Could you share those with us?
Yes.
Okay.
Can you click on them at the board,
I
or you're
don't-
not able to?
I don't get them, so.
You don't get them?
Yeah,
It's
I
in
don't-
the shared email, the board email, the
okay,
one.
I've never seen them, but thank you.
Okay, because I
Okay.
read on the district website that you guys all share an email that's like called board. Yeah,
Mhm.
so I shared it to that email.
Okay, I didn't see that. Thank you.
Oh, okay. My bad. I should be there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Really? Wait,
Yeah.
they're different? It's okay. I didn't know that. My bad.
And
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Okay. I'll share it with the other one then.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you.
And also, when you how many languages do you think would be needed for the infographics?
Mhm.
Because how many, Lupe, how many languages do we have in in our district? Spanish and right. Okay, that's why.
Yeah, Spanish and
Yeah.
French, and I know there's a lot of students incoming from places in the Middle Eastern, so Arabic, because I spoke to Lucia recently, and she was talking about all the languages that she needed to have for incoming immigrants and people like that.
Mhm.
So she said like Arabic, Spanish, French, English, and then some Mayan languages, because a lot of them are coming from, loads of them are coming from Guatemala, and they don't speak Spanish. So they come here and they only speak their Mayan languages.
Okay. Another question. Some of those are very particular to the high school. Are
Mhm.
some of these items brought up at the Student Senate?
And Student Senate? No, they don't take care of that. Student Senate takes care of events going on in the high school, so like prom, homecoming,
So they don't deal with any of
fundraisers.
that? Okay.
No, none of Student
Okay, so-
Senate doesn't deal with that. They renamed it to Student Council now. I feel like that as more accurately reflects on what they do.
Okay. Do you have the opportunity to meet with the staff and the administration at the high school and share some of these
Yes, I
things?
shared this presentation with Principal Guzman,
Okay.
because I'm not sure what stuff the district deals with and what stuff Mr. Guzman deals with, because I've had some meetings with him, and a lot of times he was like, you should take this to the district because I can't deal with this.
I see. Okay.
Yeah.
Randy and I usually facilities things and things like that. We usually touch base with
Okay.
the facility staff at the high school or Mr. Guzman.
Okay.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Any other board member questions? All right, thank you, Paulina. Next up is administrative report, starting with Farm to School end of year presentation. Come on up.
Katie, are you doing introductions? Okay. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Hi, I'd just like to welcome Fiona Monroe and Jenny Flowers. Fiona works for Solagradia Farm, and Jenny Flowers is the district's Farm to School coordinator, and they'll be providing an update on this last school year's Farm to School programming.
Hi,
Hi, thank you so much for inviting us here so we can give you a farm to school update. I'm, like Katie said, I'm Jenny Flowers. This is Fiona Monroe from Sola Gradia. Let me figure out how to use the clicker. Yay. We just have a quick slideshow. This slide shows our farm to school leadership team from Sola Gradia. We have Tracy Barkley, the director. She's been with the program from the beginning. Farm to school was kind of her brainchild. Fiona has also been with the program since the beginning. Gwyneth Crepsio is our AmeriCorps Vista. Vista, I believe, stands for Volunteers in Service to America. Then you have me, and then Jennifer Lawton, who has also been with the program since the beginning. She is from Champaign-Urbana Public Health. And Farm to School is a collaboration of all three of our organizations. Fiona, who has been with this program, or been with the Farm to School since the beginning, is going to talk about a little bit about our history. Most of you are probably aware of it. She'll just go over it real quick so we're all up to speed.
Yeah, absolutely. How close do I have to be to this? That close? Oh, okay. I'll do my best. Yeah, like Jenny was saying, I've been with the Farm to School program since we started in 2020, and just wanted to give a little bit of background since I know there's some new faces on the board since we last presented, I think, last year. So Farm to School, as Jenny mentioned, that was begun in 2020, really as a way to address both youth food insecurity and to provide some new educational opportunities within the district. We know that between 57 and 88% of students at each school qualifies for a free or reduced price lunch, which means that all of the whole district participates in the child eligibility provision. So that was something that we definitely wanted to make sure that students that are getting their best or maybe only meal of the day at school have access to really high quality local food. Farm to School as a whole addresses these items through a three-pronged approach. So we do focus on bringing local produce into school lunchrooms, meal times, and snack times. But we also support the school gardens. So thank you, Paulina, for mentioning the UHS garden. We're also passionate about making sure that that is maintained. So we also support the school gardens as spaces both for education and allow students to try growing food for themselves, learn skills to grow food for themselves. And then there's also the agriculture education piece, helping students learn about agriculture as an industry, potential careers, and of course where their food is coming from. So we have been working on all of these since we began in 2020. We started by surveying district stakeholders and creating a farm to school action plan, and then kind of developed from there. So we started with supporting the development and maintenance of garden spaces at all schools, and we're really proud that all 10 schools now have some sort of garden space that's active. We also supported the development of the farm to school coordinator position and garden coordinator positions at each school to provide structural program support for those school gardens and farm to school as a whole. We also were able to create and maintain some agriculture and nutrition education opportunities, such as the Great Apple Crunch, which we do every year in October as a large-scale event for teachers and classrooms, as well as curriculum kits, which Jenny will talk about a little bit more later on. And so we're continuing to work on those things and maintain them going forward and as we're building out this program.
Okay, I'm going to give a quick update. We have, like Fiona said, we have school gardens at each of the schools now. I'm going to start with UMS because they are the most recent. At the beginning of this year, they did not have a garden, but we have a garden coordinator there, Janice Knight, who is the art teacher. She's developed a garden club. They meet on Fridays, sometimes Thursdays and Fridays, and they were starting from scratch. She got we had some money to give each of the school gardens, but she went above and beyond and got a grant and got wood and then had her garden club build the beds. You can see it in that top right picture and the one next to it with the boys painting some wood braces. That picture is them with their "Don't Mess With Me" faces on and their power tools. That was, great to see that. At UHS, Cheyenne Warman Neal is our garden coordinator. While she's on maternity leave, Joan Jack is covering for her. They get maximum use out of their greenhouse. Ms. Jack's ag classes use the garden with every class. They started seeds probably early February, mid-February, and provided transplants to all of the schools in the district, which was really super. And her classes did that. Then at Gerber, Kathy Stein is the garden coordinator over there. She has plants in every classroom that has light. There's a couple that don't get good light, so she doesn't have class in there. For her 2022-23 March Madness fundraiser they had at Gerber, the money from that went to a greenhouse. And so you can see in this picture, they have a brand new greenhouse with electricity and water. At UECS, we had one garden coordinator who had two gardens, Thomas Payne and ECS. She recently took a great job working for U of I Extension in their SARA program, and so we had to quick scramble and find two new garden coordinators. And Mitzi Maldonado, I can never say her last name right, she stepped up. She was a key in DPW's gardens, and so she took over at UECS. They have some indoor growing beds. I can't remember the name of the brand, but they look like baby cradles, and they've got indoor plants growing in them with a grow light on top, and then they'll move those plants outside. At DPW, they are a great show garden. If we need to take people to see a garden, they've got a lot going on there. They've adopted any kind of neglected space they take on. And they have, their problems are they grow so much food, they have a need for cold storage. They give a lot of their food away. They have a wagon in the fall that they can wheel out, and the kids can take produce home with them. At Thomas Payne, Carrie Surratt just took over there when our garden coordinator left, and she is starting from scratch. Thomas Payne got paved over, and so now they have a fenced-in area for their garden. They have 4 raised beds and room for 4 more. They have a new standpipe, so they'll be planting in those 4 beds soon. At King, Tori Harvey is the garden coordinator there. She's new this year in that position. She's organized a garden committee. Last night she gave a presentation to King staff about what they've got going on. They have 3 beds. They just topped off with topsoil, and we'll be planting in those. At Leal, Jody Miller and Kara Marizzi share the garden coordinator position. Kara was previously the garden coordinator at King. I'm sure you've all been over there at one time or another. They have a lot of beds. And so I have a cousin who is 5 years old and is in Jody Miller's class, and I went over to their house for dinner a couple weeks ago, and without prompting, she came out and showed me her cucumber plant that she grew in Jody's class. So that was just great to see. It's happening in the classrooms, and they're putting those in the beds, and there's a couple of pictures here of the kids planting in Leal's beds. See, I'm running out of breath. I'm talking so fast. And then at Yankee Ridge, Hannah Gibbs is the garden coordinator there. She's been in that position for a few years now. Over the winter, she partnered with an industrial arts class at the high school, and they built her a 3rd garden bed. She has a very active garden club. They meet usually on Fridays, but sometimes other days during the week, depending on what they've got going on. And she brings in guest speakers regularly to talk to classes at Yankee Ridge from the Urbana Park District, from the Master Gardeners, and from Sola Gradia. So that was a whirlwind and a lot to say all at once, but that's the update on the school gardens. And we also have, as Fiona mentioned, classroom and garden kits for pre-K through 5th grade. We rolled these out in September. They meet curriculum standards through Next Gen and Common Core. We have 2 for each class, a classroom kit and a garden kit. One for use in the garden, one for use in the classroom, of course. 20 kits have been checked out so far. And so we're hoping to have a bigger number next year, but word is spread. We've had some repeat checkouts too, which has been great. We are currently working on some plug and play kits for UMS. UMS has a lot going on. We didn't want to overwhelm anybody, so we're just going to come up with some short lessons for subs or for in between test times when half your class is still taking tests and you need to do something with your other half. For early outs, we have been talking to Janice Knight at the middle school. She's got some great ideas for how to incorporate art into the garden and create a kit, so that would be a good way to get the kids out in the garden. Next slide here. We are also doing Harvest of the Month with Quest. Quest has been a great partner as far as incorporating local food goes. Illinois Farm to School program has this Harvest of the Month program, and so we started it in October in the middle school. They've expanded to now reach out to the middle school and the high school, and so the Harvest of the Month isn't on the lunch line. It's a separate table where they provide sample sizes to the kids, and so the winter is hard because local food isn't that available. But in January, they did roasted radishes. February, they did sweet roasted beets. And then in March, and those were hits. I was really surprised. But in March, they were getting ready to do arugula, which can be very bitter. And I sent an email and just said, I do not want Harvest of the Month to be known as Icky Vegetable Day. And Emily, the dietitian at Quest, said, don't worry, we're going to make it. You know, it's going to be arugula and apple, honey vinaigrette. It will be great. And it was. And was it you that the person at the Urbana Farmers Market came up to?
Yeah.
Fiona's got a good story about arugula and
Yeah.
how this is working.
We had a parent come up to our stand at the farmer's market saying that their child never liked salad before but got to try some at school and now is asking for salad everywhere, even when they go out to eat places that don't have salad. So that was really nice to hear.
Yeah, and so April was popcorn. You can see we've got spinach, carrots, and potatoes. Our slides must have got a little messed up here, but yep. So in addition, now I've messed it up. In addition to Harvest of the Month, Quest is also putting food on the lunch line, local food. And so January's Harvest of the Month was roasted radishes, but another day during that month, they got spinach from Sola Gradia and put it on the line in some fashion at all the schools. They didn't have enough to just have spinach salad, so they incorporated it with lettuce and other salads, and then they did carrots. Roasted carrots was also on the lunch line one day, and then roasted potatoes. And I had a slide, but I'm not sure which. It's okay. Yeah, we had a different version of this, but there was a slide, and it had an almost empty roasted potato tray next to a tray of French fries. And the potatoes were almost gone, and the French fries were just about full. So that was great to see. Quest has been really great. I got permission.
Okay.
Quest has been really great about incorporating local food. And then community outreach is a big part of what we do. Fiona is tabling at the mayoral recognition resource fair tomorrow. Last week we had a big table event at the wellness fair, which I'll talk about a little later. 2 weeks before that, we were at Gerber's Career Day tabling. So just getting the word out about Farm to School. You all have a copy of our latest newsletter, which just came out. I'm getting better at them. Canva was brand new to me when I started this job, so hopefully they'll get more in depth. And then one thing we really wanted to focus on this year was connecting teachers to people and businesses in the community in Champaign County and slightly beyond, not too far away, for guest speaker invites or field trip destinations. And so Gwyneth, who is pictured here, reached out to a bunch of local businesses and people in the community, got them interested in being in our directory, and so that's on the Farm to School drive. And then we made hard copies and put them in binders, and every school has one copy for their office and another copy in their teacher's lounge. So when they're on break, they can look through it, think about where they might want to take their students. And then we've got some interns. Pictured here is Jazarian Rawls. He is our newest hire. He is going to be the F2S coordinator intern. And we have Celia Barkley, who is a UHS garden intern, and then we just hired Kristen Lawani, who is going to be the UMS garden intern. These are new positions that we brought on this year. We started our hiring process in December. It didn't go so well. We learned the hard way that students don't read their email. But we're excited to get them going. The UHS garden intern will help Ms. Jack in the garden. Getting water to the garden is an issue because it's across the street, and so that garden intern, I think, will be hooking up a lot of hose, dragging it across the street, and helping her with planting and transplanting. Same with the UMS garden intern, and then the F2S garden intern is going to be helping me a lot with outreach. We are great at being in person. We have recently assessed our social media presence and have realized we need some help, and that's a great help to have a high school student help us with that. So we're excited about that. These positions end June 30th. And then Fiona deals a lot with field trips, so she'll talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, we've been really lucky at Sola Gradia to get to have quite a large number of USD 116 students out this year to participate in educational activities through partnership with the Farm to School program. So we were able to have two full teams of UMS 8th grade students. The Jedi and Divergent teams were able to come out in October, and they got to participate in a number of different activities all around the farm. Which was a really awesome event. We unfortunately Hercules team got rained out, so we got to find some way to make it up to them. We also brought a number of the UHS agriculture classes out for hands-on education in topics such as pollinators, water filtration, how plants grow, how to plant seeds. And through the partnership with Farm to School this year, we were able to include taste tests of our produce, which the kids had a lot of fun doing. I think our produce is delicious, but it takes some convincing for other folks sometimes. And we're really excited with the advent of the local food systems directory for that to lead to some similar experiences at other farms and food businesses in our community.
Okay, wellness fair. I hope some of you got a chance to come out last week. It was May 1st. The PTSA put it on. It was a beautiful day. We were there on the pad across the street from the high school that's near the garden. We set up a table with Quest. We asked them, we told them we wanted to taste test some local produce. Like I said before, there's not a lot of produce available right at this point in time. But they did popcorn taste testing, which was Sola Gradia popcorn versus Orville Redenbacher. Sola Gradia blew everyone out of the water. And it was plain, that no butter, no salt, just, judge the kernels on just the kernels. And it went over quite well. And then we had green garlic available, and so Quest made green garlic pesto and had some flatbread available. And then they did a green garlic pesto pasta. We asked them to keep them NSLP compliant. It wasn't an already approved recipe, but they did make it compliant so that they could submit it to the National School Lunch Program for approval. And so then they can eventually put it on the lunch line. And we taste tested that as well. And we asked them, should it be on the lunch menu or not? And all of the answers were positive, and then there were a few I don't cares, but there were no negatives. Nobody said don't put it on the lunch line. It went over quite well. There's a picture of my sticker sheet. That's how I judged the popcorn. Which one do you like better? And they won. Sola Gradia won.
So this program has been funded since we started generously by the USDA through the Patrick Leahy Farm to School Grant Program, as well as through the City of Urbana through the Youth Services Grant Program and a couple of other grant programs as well, and generously by USD 116 as well in recent years. We're continuing to seek grant funding and other funding sources to maintain this program. We have a couple of requests out now, which are those columns in yellow, although we did just learn today that we did not receive the plants funding. But we are continuing to seek funding so that we can keep maintaining this program.
Okay, so our next steps, we are continuing to work with Quest to help them make connections with local farmers. Right now, they are comfortable buying produce from SOLA, but there is some red tape involved in getting local foods into the schools. Distributors like farms to have certain certifications. Those certifications are cost prohibitive for the small farmer, so we have to make those connections directly and sort of either find a distributor that's okay or have Quest make those contacts on their own, and we're going to help facilitate that. We are going to continue to grow the school gardens. Like I said, Thomas Paine, they've got 4 new beds. They have room for 4 more. Same with the middle school. They have 4 new beds. They have room for more. But, starting with nothing, we're happy that they've got what they've got right now. Helping DPW get some cold storage, just growing that whole thing, growing the clubs at each of the schools. We'd like to continue to encourage the teachers to help their students make connections to the gardens and to use the gardens in their lessons where they can. To check out the curriculum kits to give them ideas and structured content if they want that, and to keep looking for ways to support them in their teaching. Just to help the kids plant seeds, help see what it takes to have plants grow. It's just also beneficial. And then to continue to make community connections to raise awareness of farm to school while encouraging everyone to know where their food comes from. I left a booklet in my office, but I had some statistics about how the nutritional value of local food is so much better because vegetables respire and they lose their nutritional value. So when they come from California, they're much less nutritious than they would be when they're from Sola Gradia, a mile and a half down the road. So we want to keep teaching that and keep getting local food into the school lunches. And it's been baby steps so far, but we're getting there. We're making progress, and we want to see it happen a lot more this next year. And then that's it. Thank you for watching our presentation. Any questions?
Thank you, Jenny and Fiona. Board members, any questions or comments?
I have some student feedback from the vegetables.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them are good, some of them are. First one is people said the carrots were kind of dry. I don't know if that's like a good thing or a bad thing, but yeah, they were talking about the carrots were really dry. Also, there's a lot of people eating the carrots and the broccoli, so that's good because teenagers eat like really bad, especially like Takis and chips and stuff like that. So they get all of that. That's good. And also, the popcorn was a huge hit at UHS. A lot of people liked it, and a lot of people were grabbing the popcorn, so that's great. And then a lot of people have the tomatoes too.
Oh.
Those are pretty good.
Yeah.
And also, especially when the vegetables are in the sandwiches, those are when they're most taken. Like when they're not in the sandwiches, people don't have them as much. But when they're put in like the Italian subs, the classic subs, or like the sandwich bar, then more people eat it. Especially the lettuce. I don't think I've seen like one person go into the line and not put lettuce in their sandwich. So that's pretty good. So yeah.
That's great feedback. We'll let Quest know. Thank you.
I was going to ask a question about possibly doing some workshops with families so that maybe some of that would spill over until they're home, or container gardens, or learning about where there's some community gardens where if they want a garden during the summer with their kids that they're available.
Yeah, that's great. The garden coordinators are responsible for their gardens in the summer, so a lot of them do sort of recruit students and families to help. But yeah, reaching out further and having like some professional development, but like for families, that would be a good thing. We can bring that up at our next leadership team meeting.
Yeah, absolutely.
Other questions or comments? I wondered what is a like an example of one of the curriculums in the box? What does that look like, or what's maybe in just one of? I don't want to know about a bunch,
sure
but
thing.
just like an example
so
of one.
for the 4th grade classroom kit is about food miles. So the kids read a book called How to Bake an Apple Pie and See the World, I want to say. and it's about where all of our food comes from. And then they do a short lesson where they kind of calculate the where certain ingredients and foods that they eat come from, and they make a like interactive graph of that distance and kind of judge, okay, what's the energy consumed, what's the impact of bringing food from far away. So it's a very brief lesson, but it's a way that kids can be very kind of hands-on and interactive with some of these concepts that are a little bit more conceptual. So that's one of them.
Okay, yeah. So this kind of touched my house. I talked about this a few years ago with my own daughter who would have never taken an ag class. And I was really encouraging her during COVID to really like consider something different, branch out. And so she took the ag class. And of course, I think they may have connected with you guys for the garden at the school. But through that, we started our own garden at my house, which has grown tremendously.
Awesome.
With lots of different additions to it. And my daughter just finished her first plant biology class in college and aced it.
Fantastic.
So you never know kind of how just the little seed that you plant, how that, and I come from a family of farmers, but it didn't really reach my generation until it came through my daughter from the school. So anyway, thanks for all that you do. There's nothing like being able to go and pull a cucumber or tomato, or we grew broccoli, and my son makes salsa from the peppers that we grow, and it's just really been neat for us, and kind of brings me to the roots of reminding me of my grandmother's kitchen, especially in the summertime. So thanks for all that you guys do.
That is so
Appreciate the
fantastic.
Thanks for sharing that.
presentation. All right, any other questions? Okay, thank you guys.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. And you have to see me again. I've got the next one too.
Okay, so I'm going to introduce this next topic.
All right, moving on to Wellness Committee Annual Report.
Hi, I'm moving up to the table so I can be with my counterparts here from the District Wellness Committee. So I'm Katie, and it's my pleasure to introduce you to some other members of the District Wellness Committee. Amy Marks is the district nurse, and Jenny Flowers is the farm to school coordinator. I am going to give you an overview of our District Wellness Committee. So for context, I just want to give you a little bit of background about what the committee's work is and where we've come to bring us to today. So to combat growing childhood obesity rates in the United States, this policy was originally adopted in 2006 to comply with the Child Nutrition Reauthorization Act, which required schools to adopt a policy addressing nutrition education, physical activity, and promotion of healthy lifestyles. A more robust version of this policy was adopted in 2015, which specified the creation of the Wellness Committee and its roles and responsibilities, including providing this annual report to the Board of Education each year. It's one of the requirements of the policy. An effort was made to re-engage this committee in last school year in 22-23 to address key components of the policy that had yet to be implemented after the committee became inactive in 2015. This year's committee continued with the momentum that was built last year, and we started the year by dividing into 3 subcommittees and setting goals for the coming year. The subcommittee work occurred outside of the quarterly meetings, and the quarterly meetings were utilized to report back the subcommittee's work to the full group. And with that, let's dig into the policy itself. Slide. Oh, I'm not good at this. Oh, there we go. Okay. The wellness policy consists of 3 main components: nutrition, physical activity, and other wellness initiatives. The nutrition section covers school meals, nutrition promotion, and nutrition education. So the policy on school meals states that our district is committed to serving healthy meals to help mitigate childhood obesity, support the development of lifelong healthy eating patterns, and support healthy choices while accommodating cultural food preferences and special dietary needs. The nutrition promotion component states that our district will promote healthy food and beverage choices for all students throughout the school campus using smarter lunchroom techniques, which is a USDA term that's defined in the policy. The policy on education, nutrition education states that schools will provide nutrition education that follows Illinois learning standards for health curriculum. The physical activity component of the policy states that children should participate in 60 minutes of physical activity every day, and that physical activity will not be withheld as punishment for any reason. And lastly, the other major section of the wellness policy is other wellness initiatives, which states that the district will integrate wellness across the entire school setting, that all school-sponsored events will be encouraged to adhere to the wellness policy. And the other wellness initiative also extends to community engagement activities and encompasses the school gardens and farm-to-school programs, which you just heard about. So in addition to those three components on the previous slide, one of the core requirements of the policy is the creation of the District Wellness Committee to oversee the implementation and the monitoring of the policy. To the extent possible, the Wellness Committee includes representatives from each school building and reflects the diversity of our community. The makeup of the committee is intended to represent all school levels, elementary and secondary, and include parents and caregivers, students, representatives of the school nutrition program, such as the food service director, and several of Quest's staff members are involved, PE teachers, health education teachers, school health professionals, such as the school nurses, and mental health staff, social service staff, school administrators, school board members, and health professionals and the general public. We are still actively recruiting additional representatives for our committee, especially parents and students. We would love to have more parents and students involved. So if you know anyone that's interested, please contact me. Okay, so with that introduction, now we're going to each kind of take a turn to briefly discuss what each of our subcommittees' major goals were for the year, to talk about the achievements that we accomplished during this year and any plans that we have for the upcoming year for the Wellness Committee. So each subcommittee established 3 goals for the coming year, for the current year, and they're listed. This is the subcommittee that I was overseeing, along with Tracy Barkley, who's not here tonight. And so she and I co-chaired this subcommittee. And the Food Service Improvement Subcommittee's goals, the main goal was to facilitate the vendor request for proposals process that we just went through, where we selected Quest at the last regular board meeting. And so I'll talk a little bit about that. Our highest priority in our subcommittee was facilitating the procurement process for the food service management company for next fiscal year. This was a very lengthy process that involved 2 30-day ISB review periods, which are indicated by the orange segments on the timeline on the screen. So this process began all the way back in October when we drafted a request for proposals, which was the most intense part of the process because it was an over 120-page RFP document, and it could not have been possible without the extensive research and assistance of Bhakti Verma, who is the University of Illinois Humanities Research Institute graduate assistant that's helping with the Farm to School program. She was instrumental in gathering information to help give us insight into how to put this proposal together. We chose to use the brand new request for proposals procurement process that ISB was now allowed to offer after the law changed last year. Previous to that, only the low bid was allowed to be accepted for food service. So the request for proposal process now allowed the district to utilize factors other than solely low bid for evaluating proposals. So for example, just so that connects, like one criteria that we built into our proposal was that we gave additional points in our scoring rubric if the vendor was able to have a proven ability to provide locally sourced food. So vendors that demonstrated that through their proposal could potentially earn up to 5 additional points in their scoring criteria when their proposals were evaluated, for example. So the RFP was released January 5th. The evaluation committee members attended vendor site visits for 2 weeks at the end of January. We did receive 4 proposals. We visited sites of 4 different vendors, which was a good experience. We learned a lot. And subsequently, those proposals were evaluated and scored. And we brought our recommendation to the board, which was approved on April 16th. The Food Service Improvement Subcommittee's second goal was to implement the menu planning feedback meetings, which we have not been doing up until this year. So Quest actually was instrumental in facilitating these. We had 8 meetings in total. We rotated UMS, UHS, elementary in the fall and then repeated in the spring. So on the screen is just a couple examples. There was the flyer where we did some recruitment. There's a couple pictures of students participating in the meetings, and then just a sample of what one of the surveys that they handed out during the meetings as they were sampling the food that asked for feedback about what they thought about the food that they were tasting. And in addition to formal meetings, Quest has also implemented several other avenues for students and community members to share feedback. So shown on the screen is a sticker survey that was incorporated into the Harvest of the Month activity at the middle school. And as you can see on the page, more students liked the item than disliked it, which is really great. And if you're watching, if you'd like, I would very much like to invite anybody, if they have feedback regarding our food service, to follow the QR code on the screen and share your feedback directly with Quest. And lastly, the unused food sharing plan was one of our goals. It's a goal that we're going to roll forward. We did make a little bit of headway in lining up what we want to do for next year, and we hope to make this our high priority goal to accomplish in the coming year.
And so I am a chair on the Policy and Governance Committee. Our 3 goals were to monitor policy compliance, promote it, and then develop school-based wellness committees. We are very early on in this process. You can go to the next slide. All right, I'll do it. So to monitor policy compliance, we need to figure out what the schools are already doing. One of the things that we did is Bhakti and I have been visiting all the schools this semester and just having lunch. It's really scientific. It's not just about the food, it's about the lunchroom culture. How is the lighting? Is it a pleasant place to be? Is there a lot of yelling? What's the signage like? You know, are there positive, eat healthy things on the walls? So it's been really educational that way. And then Bhakti has helped prepare a proposal so we can send that out hopefully to the schools in the fall. It needs to go through this institutional review board process first, but it's to gather data on what the schools are already doing, and not to be negative in any kind of way. Just let us know what you're doing, not to scold for not doing something. So we'll get that underway next fall, and then once the wellness policy implementations are already created. Oh, yeah. So then we'll send that out to the schools and we'll get feedback, and then we'll go from there. And then to promote policy awareness, this is from the wellness fair I talked about in the Farm to School presentation that happened on May 1st. One of the tables next to us was a wellness committee table. That's Ryan Elder from the high school manning that table. She had a sign-up sheet and had a bunch of cool questions with answers that you could look underneath and find things about vaping and other wellness concerns. And that's it for policy and governance.
Take it away. All right, my turn. Firstly, I want to say thank you, Katie, for being our fearless leader.
Yes.
This has been a big challenge, but Katie has kept us all together. So I'm a chair on the Health and Wellness Subcommittee. So in consideration of nutrition promotion, Quest Food Service has a wonderful dietitian, Emily Lane, who works closely with the building nurses regarding any special food requests and nutritional guidance for individualized student health needs. Emily also helps the kitchen staff at all schools with any challenges that they have, such as making sure that portion sizes are appropriate and consistent, which is very important for individuals with diabetes and other health ailments. Outside of the Quest surveys, Nurse Ryan at UHS presented a student staff survey to determine the likes and dislikes of the lunchtime choices at UHS to promote more desirable menus and less food waste. Quest hosted a webinar regarding best practices in youth nutrition. This was shared with nurses and the wellness committee just to spread awareness. I'm not going to go over the pictures for Harvest of the Month or Farm to School because Jenny has already discussed that. Slide 14. So for The Wellness Committee's focus on physical health and education, this included the Illinois Right to Play Act, which I think Katie touched on a bit. It was reinforced recently to administrators with resources given out. This was very well received. The act requires that all public schools provide daily time for supervised, unstructured, child-directed play for all students in kindergarten through 5th grade. To support student overall health and well-being, building nurses refer students to the very convenient and newly updated school-based health center as needed. The school-based health center offers many services to encourage good health including counseling, physical exams, immunizations, dental services, along with confidential STD testing. CUPD, they also host dental clinics at every single one of our schools in the district every year to benefit oral health care. And finally, the Wellness Committee has integrated staff opportunities to support student mental health. This would be the other topic that we decided to focus on is mental health with the following trainings. Urbana School Health Center 101, CUPHD shared an overview of the health center and the services, as well as how the referral process works for medical, dental, and behavioral services. Another training was how staff can support adolescent access to health services to help build staff capacity and understanding of how to connect students to essential health services, and highlights the health services available again at the school health center, as well as at CUPHD. And there was a youth mental health first aid training recently. It was a collaboration between ROE number 9, CUPHD, and Vermilion County Mental Health. 3 of our building nurses attended this training, as well as several other USD 116 staff members. And really our next year goals are to continue to collaborate with all the same players, such as our food service, CUPHD, Promise Health, and to incorporate more staff, student, and community input.
That's all we had.
Thank you.
Oh, I guess it's.
Okay, board member questions or comments? So I had just a couple. So I saw the training slide where you're doing all the different training. What kind of communication is there for the students on the mental health piece? I know we already have some students that like are getting counseling or that are being referred in that kind of way, but what about just the general message to students that, you know, their mental health should be taken seriously, and here are services that are available? What's that look like?
That is a great question. So just recently, CUPHD shared a huge resource with me that we need to still go through and try to determine what we can offer to the students. In addition, the CUPHD offers the QR code to scan for certain services. We recently got that at one of the trainings, and so we're trying to figure out how to incorporate and what we can incorporate over to the students that would make sense to them. So we're getting there. We're just piecing it together still.
Okay. I feel like that's an important piece for us to keep
Absolutely.
pushing in that direction. You know, there's students that, you know, they're just, you're not going to always be able to see the signs of mental health, but just maybe the messaging for them, somebody might take that opportunity which could make a big improvement in their life and sometimes even save a life. So that's
Absolutely.
definitely a big one. I wondered if the suggestions that you receive from students, are those typically like reasonable suggestions when you're talking about like changes for the lunch or additional things that they see, or is it something
so.
that's kind of out of the ballpark?
No, I think they're very reasonable, and I think Quest is super responsive to
Okay.
feedback. So we've been really happy with when it gets to the right people that need to know, they make changes right away, and they're
Okay.
very responsive. So we've been
Okay.
really happy.
I bet Paulina can help you with more students.
Yeah.
Because she seems to have all those connections. So I heard that you were looking for more parents
For
and
the-
students. She might be able to help you with the students.
Absolutely. And if they have specific food service feedback, those QR codes, they're on little business cards in the UHS lunchroom too. They're all over the place. So they have
Yeah.
them at the checkout. Sometimes I see them on the tables. So they're there. So feel free to, give Quest your feedback. And, but as far as participation on this committee, absolutely. We would love to have more students and parents involved.
Yeah. The last question is on the food share. So I know that students have to take, like they have to take a milk and then either the fruit, or is it a vegetable that's given, or is it usually typically a
It's
fruit?
3 of 5 components. So the different components are fruit, vegetable, grain, dairy, and protein.
Okay.
So they have to take 3 of 5. So depending on what is offered, they don't have to take, and one of them has to be a fruit or a vegetable of the
Okay,
3.
got it.
But as far as the food sharing plan goes,
Yeah.
we're working on kind of like a template model that we can roll out for the share table concept at each school that would include like the marketing and everything, so that folks know not only what they have to take for a claimable meal, but they could take all 5 components and then leave 2 for a friend in the share bin
the
as
table,
well.
okay.
So we're working on that messaging more for next year. Our primary goal was to get that RFP process completed, and now we can focus on that goal for next year. So I'm pretty excited about that, and Quest has some ideas about how to help us with that as well.
Okay. That's all I have. Anybody else?
I went on the 2 visits, 2 schools, and we did see one school who did that very effectively. So it'd be nice
took a
to
lot of
have that as
pictures.
well. Huh?
I took a lot of
Yeah.
pictures of those visits, so
Yeah.
to bring back ideas with us. And it was great to have you participate in a couple of those visits too, Sherry, and you've been a great part of our committee.
Thank you for changing the time.
Sure.
All right. Any other questions or comments, board members? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, before we go into study topics, I want to thank Rondell Ross, who is running the cameras for us. Thank you so much for your assistance with our cameras. All right, moving into study topics. First up is the consolidated plan and grant updates. Are you guys okay on mics, or we've got?
I think that will be okay.
Okay.
We can keep them moving.
All right.
All right. Good.
Looks like Tanya's leading the show. Go ahead.
I'm going to give it a shot. We'll see. It's a team sport. It really is. Thank you for having us here this evening. As we get to each of our different pieces, we'll introduce ourselves and let you know which grants we are each taking the lead on. We have several within our district. The federal grants themselves are guided by the Consolidated District Plan, which is what we'll be talking about, all the pieces this evening. See if I get it right. All right. I don't want to read slides to you, but we wanted to make sure you had the information. But the Consolidated District Plan is less than 10 years old. Many years ago, they had determined that they would start, instead of every grant writing its own plan, they would start to incorporate and bring them together. It's been particularly useful with the addition and ebb and flow of different grants that have shown up over the years. And it's been very useful to help us coordinate, and they like to use the phrase, blend and braid, and to let us know that we're using our money in effective ways. In the plan itself, we have to conduct some needs assessments across the district. We also have to look at our engagement activities that we offer for families, students, and staff. We have to talk with our non-public schools to engage their interest if they would like to be a part of the funding. A common misconception is that sometimes schools will think that we are just going to write a check for their part, but that's not how it works. We have to work together to find a way to be able to purchase needed materials that work for both districts. We have to develop ways that we are going to provide support academically, social emotionally, and linguistic development. Plans need to be created to support teachers' professional development, and Over the last few years, they've added a few new pieces, the Youth in Care Stability Plan and the Bilingual Services Plan. A couple grants to keep in mind that we're going to share information about tonight, but are not necessarily tied to the consolidated plan: Preschool for All, TAEUP, and our 21st Century grants. Our plan has to be renewed every year, and we try to get that done where we are presenting it here in the study session in May, and then hopefully you will be able to approve it at your next board meeting on May 21st. This is just an overview of some of our grants and the different pieces that you would be able to determine who is in charge of each piece. Other grants, again, we have our block grant for early childhood. We have our early childhood prevention initiative. We have our truants grant and Title IV, which comes under 21st Century Learning. So that is not directly tied into the consolidated district plan, but I will say when we do some of those other grants, we do use the data that is supporting this particular process. Summary is just that we have to have it approved before we can spend money. So that's part of the reason why we need to try to keep this moving along, that it's approved in May or June. So when the grants open up on July 1, we can go ahead and start the process to apply for the funds. You have to create a budget, you have to create plans and how you're going to move forward based on the needs and the surveys that we collect information. We also have to do quarterly expenditure reports. And now, it used to be quarterly, some are semi-annual, some are annual performance information that goes into the state. Some of the federal grants allow us to carry over unspent money. It's usually a 15% cap, but you can also do a waiver and be able to hold on to some of those additional monies, but you only get to do that once every 3 years. A little bit more information, just talking about project start dates. The start date is July 1 typically. The end date, though, could be June 30th or it could be August 31st, depending on how you want to extend your grant. For some of our programs, we do some of our activities in August. So if the grant is going to fund those and we don't want it to go into the next fiscal year, then we need to make sure that we're extending the timeline on the grant. And we had in our grant, in this information, audit every 2 to 3 years. I think since COVID, we haven't seen any audits yet, so we can knock on wood. But that is a possibility that they could be asking for those and get that started up again soon. And we're going to talk a little bit about each of our grants tonight. So up first, we have Early Childhood Block Grant, and I believe Beth Ladd. Yep.
So last year I was the principal of Urbana Early Childhood, and that was my end of my 3rd year. And so I have continued to maintain the grant this year. And with the new principal coming in, this may transition over to the new principal in a year or two. Having only done it for 3 years, it felt very daunting to teach it to a new person just yet. It takes a little more than that to have a full understanding of the whole process. But we are a well-known early childhood program in the state. Been practicing inclusive practices at our program, serving 360 students for a very long time. Most of our program is funded through the grant in the terms of salaries and benefits for many of the teachers, many of the TAs, and part of the administrative salaries, as well as family coordinators at the program. We do a screening process to determine if students are eligible for our program, and our money has been stable for all 4 years now that I've been here. That is extremely problematic for us, and we've been informed that we will be stable at the same amount for at least the next 2 years again. A lot of money coming into the communities for early childhood, and it's just not reaching our early childhood block grants yet. So continue to advocate for that. As our money stays stable and our costs and salaries increase, we've seen an increase in things being able to be afforded on the grant side and the district having to pick up, and decisions having to be made about some of our staffing. More details about the numbers are on this slide in front of you.
Next, we have Kelly Russell. She'll talk with us about the Early Childhood Prevention Initiative.
Good evening, board members. Thank you so much for having me here this evening. I'm Kelly Russell, the program coordinator for CU Early. Our program is a prevention initiative, home-based program funded through ISB. And in addition to ISB funds, we also receive funds from the Champaign County Mental Health and Disabilities Board. We serve expectant families and children birth to age 3. We serve the youngest learners in our district. Our program is housed at Urbana Early Childhood School. We're funded to serve 85 families and 95 children, and we have a staff of 5, 2 of which are bilingual Spanish-speaking home visitors. We provide child development and parent education activities in families' homes every other week. We also provide monthly playgroups to all of our enrolled families. Our program staff complete developmental screenings on all enrolled children and make referrals to early intervention if a delay or a disability is suspected. When children are pre-K ready, we help transition them into Urbana Early Childhood, Champaign Early Childhood, or Champaign County Head Start. Our program is unique in that we also work with Champaign School District as well. We're able to go back and forth between both districts and serve families in Champaign and in Urbana. We implement the Baby Talk curriculum, and we are quality confirmed, which means that we have met and exceeded all of the standards for Baby Talk.
At this time, we'll hand off to Dion Webster, Title I and Title IV.
Good evening, everyone. Title I focuses on educating the whole child between blending together community, home, and school. We focus on student learning, learning conditions, and elevating educators. A few of the costs that we put in the Title I grant have remained the same over the past several years. Instructional materials for all schools, because we are school-wide, so all of our schools receive Title I, all of our K through 12 schools. 12 instructional coaches are in the Title I grant, benefits for reading interventionists at Urbana Middle School, and this year is new. We are paying for the travel costs for Urbana Middle School and Urbana High School staff members to be trained off campus, so it will be out of state, and that has to be paid for with Title I funds. Title II can only pay for in-state costs, so we are putting that in the Title I grant this year so that they can go to Texas, Dallas, Texas. We also have the career and technical education teacher in the high school, which ties into college and career readiness, which falls under Title I. Kindergarten transition coordinator, and benefits for our 2 district liaisons, Ms. Lucia Maldonado and Dr. Janice Mitchell. As in previous years, we have a variety of educational subscriptions in the grant, Panorama and Student Success, which are tied to social emotional learning, family engagement events, materials to purchase materials for those for our family academic support and engagement events, and then non-publics, as Tanya mentioned, their share of receiving their a set aside of the schools that sign up to receive non-public schools. We have 2, and based on their enrollment, that's the amount that they receive, and we put that towards reading instruction, and they get a portion of family engagement materials as well. Part of our funds also go to our kindergarten readiness camp, and this year we're bringing back the first grade Jump Start program to support current kindergartners who may need a little bit of a boost just to be successful in first grade. We've had it in the past when we're bringing it back this year just to support our incoming first graders. We blend our Title IV funds into Title I because the goals are very similar. So we've used those Title IV funds for social emotional learning resources and materials, supplemental instructional materials for PE, health, family and consumer sciences, arts, etc. We've also purchased supplemental materials for core subjects. We can only purchase supplemental, not textbooks with Title I and Title IV. And we also purchase radios for Urbana Middle School staff as part of school safety.
The next grant, Jen Roan from Gerber Schools monitors this grant. It is our neglected grant under Title I. She has the numbers available for you there. Something that we are doing new this year with this, sorry, I think I hit the button. Something new that we're doing this year is we are blending and braiding more with our funds. So are some things in her grant that, again, if we're over the 15% and it hasn't been spent, then we have to find a way to get that done. So they're also bringing in a more intentional way, the curriculums that we've adopted in our other buildings as well. So we have consistency across the district. Next, Miss Yolanda Smith.
Yes, good evening. I am going to talk about the next couple of slides. The first one is the Title 1A School Improvement Grant 1003A, which is also known as the Empower Grant. The mission of the Title 1A School Improvement Grant 1003A is to build the capacity of the adults to support continuous school improvement in our buildings. This grant is designed for the specific purpose of helping school personnel, meaning administrators, classroom teachers, paraprofessionals, everyone in the buildings, to implement effective school improvement practices. On the screen in front of you, you have two schools. These are the first two designations I'm going to talk about. Dr. Preston Williams Elementary School this year received $77,000. They are also noted in parentheses. It was shared with you they are an intensive school. So the total amount of funding this year was $77,000 for them. And Yankee Ridge Elementary School received $55,000. Below you will find the definitions of what an intensive school designation is and also a comprehensive school designation. Both of these schools, meaning Dr. Williams and Yankee Ridge, both had to have a needs assessment conducted by the American Institute for Research. Dr. Williams had to spend $49,000, $363, and Yankee Ridge had to spend $38,602 on the needs assessments that were conducted. Below you will find the information there on what the needs assessments included, and then also they conducted two different things. They looked first at the 5 essential survey, that is the quantitative data, but then also they did building visits. This required them to go into classrooms and do observations. They did a principal survey. They did a staff focus group at both schools, and then also a staff survey. At this current time, this data is still not available to us, but it will be momentarily. The next two schools are Dr. King Elementary School. They received $10,000 this year. This is planning money only. And then Leal Elementary School also received $10,000, and it is also planning money only. What planning money means is it cannot be used on instructional materials. It can only be used for the staff to have additional meetings for the school improvement team, to update their school improvement team, to review their data. It also allows time for the staff to get together if they're not on the school improvement team to talk about what best practices they would like to implement in those schools. The next school is Urbana Middle School. You see a large number there. It started off first, it was only going to be $100,000, but some school districts in the state did not utilize their money, and so then the middle school received $444,755, but then some other schools in the state did not use their money, so the middle school ended up this year with a total of $607,755. Now, the middle school is a very large building, and so we have used our efforts to make sure that they are also using them towards personnel and then also professional development. As you can see, Mrs. Webster talked about AVID. There are a lot of AVID line items that also comes out of this grant. We have an AVID district director. We also have a consultant that also supports our AVID site team at the middle school. And then also we pay for registration for the middle school team in order to go to the Summer Institute in Dallas, Texas. As you see here, we also were able to hire retired teachers to come back, help support, coach, work alongside with not only our new hires, but anyone else that needed additional support. The retired teachers were also able to train our new department chairs. If someone retired last year, they were able to come back and help train them. And then also we were able to hire an additional student relations supervisor. The additional money was spent also on purchasing the binders that you all see when you go to the middle school. They all have the same binders. They are various colors, but it is all the same. And then last but not least, the professional development. If you notice that there have been a lot of layers support added to the middle school this year, across our district, we're not only making sure that our classroom, our certified teachers have professional development, but everyone in our district has professional development offered to them. The middle school has been intentional of making sure not only their department chairs and their departments have the training as well, they have also worked together with the Urbana High School and made sure their paraprofessionals, their student relations supervisors, their counselors, and everyone else also receives the training that they need. The last thing is that middle school does have to have some of their money go to the regional office or any other learning partner, and so they have chose regional office number 9. And you see there it is $33,000. The regional office works with Urbana Middle School to develop a professional development plan. This also allows an additional support not only through the departments but also for our paraprofessionals as well. The next school is Thomas Paine Elementary School. Thomas Paine started this year with only $36,000, but because some of the school districts did not use their money in the state, Thomas Paine received an additional $89,000, bringing them to $125,000 this year. Thomas Paine has spent their money on instructional materials, also professional development stipends. If teachers wanted to attend professional development outside of their contractual time, they were able to get compensated for their time. And also, they too have a partnership with the regional office number 9, and that is their learning partner for this year. And that concludes about the Ill Empower School Improvement Funding Grants. Next up, I'm going to talk very briefly about the Title II Teacher Quality. This is a grant that supports not only our new hires, our long-term subs, but everyone in the school district. We first have a recruitment and retention specialist that comes out of this grant. We also are able to pay our staff to sit in workshops this summer to collaborate with one another, to gain new skills, and to also put more tools in their professional development toolbox. We also hire out Title II consultants, and they are the ones that are supporting our district on the various days, on opening days, staff development days, the Winter Institute, and then also this summer as well. We have $10,000 that's designated for Title II conferences. And then we also pay for the teacher evaluation subscription, which is also called Frontline. The last thing is, of course, we need materials when we are helping our staff and giving them professional development. So materials comes out of that line item too. I will note this is the first year that we paid all of our new hires to attend new teacher orientation, and we also were able to pay them. And we're going to do so in the future.
Next, we have the TAP grant. Shauna Scher manages that. She was unable to be here tonight. The purpose of this grant is to serve students with attendance problems by providing truancy prevention and intervention services and provide part-time or full-time options for regular school attendance. She has provided a breakdown there of the finances and the details of the grant, and she also encourages, if there are questions about this grant, to please reach out to her.
Okay, next I will talk briefly about Title III, which is our multilingual grants. I'm Lupe Ricconi, Director of Multilingual Programs. With the Title III grants, these are also a supplementary grants that we receive as a district, so I appreciate that all my lovely team members blend and braid their funds with me to help support our multilingual learners across the district. These funds, you can see the parameters on this slide, are used to ensure that all of our emergent bilingual students, including our immigrant youth, are being supported to meet the goals set by the state, such as academic standards and English proficiency. We also use this funding to support teachers and staff with professional development, as well as materials, as well as we use these funds to also support parent and family engagement as well. So there are multiple small grants that I oversee. Two
Title III, first I'll go through the Immigrant Student Education Program. This is an award that is based on the number of new arrival students that you have in your district. There is a calculation that the state uses that over the past 3 years, they look at that number, and that's how they determine the amount that is awarded to a district. That is primarily used for salaries and benefits for some of our newcomer support TAs in the district, as well as some for materials and professional development. Our Language Instruction Education Program grant is our main grant. That one, again, is used for a variety of different areas to support all of our buildings, pre-K through 12. Salaries and benefits, again, is to support native language TAs, as well as materials, student subscriptions. The professional development here also includes our collaboration with the Center for Teaching for Biliteracy and their consulting services that we have ongoing on a yearly basis, as well as professional development to support teachers to attend PD throughout the year, locally and out of state. The two other grants at the bottom were non-renewable temporary awards that I did just want to mention. We did receive some money from ISB last year, specifically to help with licensure for those current staff that want to get their ESL or bilingual licensure. We do have approximately 10 teachers taking advantage of that right now. That money will expire this summer. As well as last week, we found out about the Bilingual Educator Award, which the amount got cut off this slide, but it is about $5,000. That is only for this summer to be used to provide newcomer support. So I'm currently working with the coordinators and the liaisons to come up with some creative ways on how to use those funds. Last year, ISB combined one report that I typically submitted in July, called the Bilingual Service Plan. Now it is embedded into the CDP, thank you. And this is the district's plan that outlines what services we're going to be providing at each building, how many staff we have at each building, et cetera. This is, one of the requirements is that this is reviewed by our Bilingual Parent Advisory Committee. So I did present this to them on April 9th. Provided them opportunity to provide feedback until April 26th. No feedback was received. Okay.
Back up here in my role as Executive Director of Student Services and overseeing our special education services, there are 2 additional grants, IDEA for preschool and IDEA flow-through. We are required to provide services for students age 3 through 21, and so additional support is given to early childhood with the focus on making sure we're providing our special education services. This tiny little grant for the preschool is currently covering about 2 teaching assistants, and just for perspective, we have 24 teaching assistants at our preschool program, but this grant provides 2. It's been stable for many years, and we continue it being the same way. Another point I'd like to make is Todd Taylor, who was in this role last year, stayed on through August last summer, and we had quite an overlap of transition between my role and his role. And so his work in the spring and this summer put together these grants and then helped me to better understand them this summer for me to be able to do for the next school year. But then the final one I'm going to speak about is our IDEA flow-through, which supports 3 through 22, mainly teaching assistants on this. Most of our certified staff are paid for out of district funds, but this is salary and benefits for teaching assistants. We do a great deal of professional development through this. We've been able to offer all of our certified staff the opportunity to have a time each month where they're able to collaborate together in the evening, work on IEP writing, work on curriculum writing, ask questions of me or my administrative staff. That comes out of this budget, as well as part of our administrative staff and secretarial staff for our student services department.
Our next grant is the 21st Century Learning Grants. We have had these for many, many, many years. I believe one of them is 20 years old when we were looking at the research recently. It is a program that they had said the funding will be ending. What the state did do this year is the funding did run out, and rather than what happened last year where they just cut off all programming on that particular rotation, they moved funds that were not claimed for ESSER schools and moved those ESSER funds into the 21st century to fund us to the end of this year. At the end of this year, our remaining grants, which we have 3 at the high school, the middle school, and at Leal, those will come to an end. We've been working, it's grant season, so there are a lot of grants that are coming out at this time. One of the most prominent would be Teen Reach. We've had that here before, so we've applied for that again. We're also looking at some City of Urbana grants to help us find our after-school programming solutions to keep that moving forward for our students. Then, sorry, too many buttons. ESSER 3. ESSER 3 funding wraps up this year. As we entered into this year, this fiscal year, we had $6,295,003 to work with. And we have been spending a lot of time looking at our different funds, balances, our SIP grants, our title grants, and how can we blend things together. An example would be that Title I, as Ms. Webster mentioned earlier, can only purchase supplemental materials, while ESSER can purchase core. So we've used ESSER to purchase the core math and the core ELA literacy materials for our programming. We also have some money that is dedicated yet for UMS and UHS social studies and science. There have been other activities that have been funded with ESSER grant money as well. Other items that have been helpful are SEAs. We've been paying for those along with the TAP grant with Mrs. Scher. We also have worked on the different positions listed there. You can see we have our before and after programs, schools, our programs, nurses, college and career counselor at the high school, our DEI director, E3 grant coordinator, and then some of our curricular stipends. Transportation, ESSER has been kind of a godsend for that, because with the other grant monies kind of closing out, we've been able to again shift some funds over so that our students can be transported to summer programs, for instance. That's one of the big ones. We also have professional development. We made a huge investment with that. We've also held our open gyms, which allow us to update our curriculum so that when the teachers have had training in the different materials, they then have time to gather together as teams and work on their materials. We've had roughly 45 to 55 certified staff at each of our open gym nights. Just want to thank all the people listed on this slide. If we missed someone, it was just a simple oversight there. We appreciate all the support that we get. I do want to point out, we made it through the whole presentation with, I think the date's right, until the last one. So May 21st, we'll be asking for approval of the district plan, the CDP. We have to have that date in the application, otherwise we can't submit it to the state. And as mentioned earlier, that slows down the funding. So if you have any questions tonight for us, we're here. If you have questions before the next meeting and you'd like to follow up with us, that is fine as well. Whatever we can do to help you.
Okay, thank you. Board member questions? Go ahead, Jennifer.
Could I just ask a couple of questions? I'm sorry. This would be for Dion, because it was you were giving the presentation. You said that there were 12 instructional coaches as part of Title I, Part A, and I was wondering, I was unsure whether you meant 12 Title I teachers, or do you mean instructional coaches for teachers who are teaching Title I kids? Which?
Correct. Instructional coaches who work directly with the teachers. And all of our schools qualify for Title I, so they work with all teachers and all students.
Okay, and so these are different from the people
Different
that
than literacy interventionists.
we had, like Brian Lake was one, and
No, it's the same thing that Brian Lake is. Brian Lake was currently an instructional coach.
he's an instructional coach, but
Correct.
and paid for through
Title I.
Through Title I.
Yes,
And
ma'am.
so next year, are we paying the same? Are we going to do that
Next year, there will be salaries in the Title I grant. Most likely, it'll be the Tier 1, Tier 2, and Tier 3 curriculum specialists. Some of them will come out of the Title I grant.
Okay, but we won't have the 12 instructional coaches?
No, ma'am. Instructional coaches will be the new positions, the Tier 1, Tier 2, and Tier 3. They will be blended into that, and it's a different role next year. So we won't have literacy interventionists, and we won't have instructional coaches next year, but we'll have different levels of instructional support in the elementary, middle school, and high school.
Okay.
But not all of that will come out of the Title I, because they won't all fit. So we usually just blend and braid, like we've talked about before, of each grant will pick up different positions, and the district will pick up the additional costs.
So, and the people who were instructional coaches couldn't apply for the new positions of the Tier 1?
Yes, ma'am, they could.
Oh, they could?
Yes.
Okay.
If they were open for anyone to apply. They
Oh,
weren't,
okay.
it wasn't a closed interview. Anyone could apply for those.
Okay, and how many of those will there be?
That's not for me. That'd have to be an HR question, because I just don't
Oh,
know the
okay,
number.
okay, I
I
didn't-
know the positions, but I can't tell you the exact number for each role, because there are 3 different levels. I just don't know the exact number.
So, every elementary school is getting a certain number. We're calling them co-teachers because they're gonna push into the classrooms to
Okay.
support Tier 1, to support the new curriculum that Tanya was talking about that we just purchased. CKLA at the elementary, Caminos, for Spanish dual language, and HMH for the middle school. So those folks will now, instead of pull kids out to work with them in small spaces, they'll push into the classrooms, and every student will get to benefit from having a veteran, very experienced, highly trained person working in the classrooms. Most of the coaches applied for those positions. We had maybe one coach that I think decided to go back to a classroom. But most of the instructional coaches are going to be supporting the Tier 1 initiative in some way, either as a co-teacher or as a Tier 1 and Tier 3 intensive teacher, where they're going to be working with students who are very, very high level on the triangle, who need a lot of intensive literacy support or math support. And then our curriculum implementation folks who are going to be working on all the data, really helping our buildings go back to more of a PLC, a professional learning community model, looking at data at all of our meetings, doing some professional development with staff around the Tier 1 initiative. So those are all the positions, and the people who are currently in any of those roles applied. And those who wanted a position, I think most of them interviewed and got one. We had people who Angie's not here, so I can't tell you exactly how many people who did what, but those are what the positions
Yeah,
are.
I thought those positions were just canceled. And so I
They're
was
just being
wrong.
used in a different way.
Used in a
So
different way.
we're,
And the Tier 1, it's been a long time. We used to have a program where you had, Tier 1 meant you needed
So
X
Tier
amount
1
of support. Tier 2 means
Yep.
you needed 2X.
So when
and
we
Tier
say
3
Tier 1, we mean core, and core
Okay,
instruction
right,
is
okay.
something that every single student is entitled to have.
Right.
So all students receive core,
Mhm.
whether they have an IEP or not. Some of our special education teachers provide another layer of support on top of the core. So right now, our literacy specialists, that's what they do. Our interventionists, they provide another layer of support on top of core. This will be the first year that we've had in a long time, since we became a balanced literacy district, a core curriculum that is an actual, that is based on science of reading. So teachers will have a curriculum, materials, and be expected to implement that curriculum. And then we will layer on, like at a Tier 2, like we call that like a double dose. And then Tier 3 would be those kids who need more than core, more than the second layer. They need like a third or a fourth layer.
Right, okay.
What's Tier 2 and Tier 3 like specifically?
So Tier 2 can happen in the classroom. So a classroom teacher can provide Tier 2 support in the classroom, pushing in, or we're going to incorporate some intervention block time in the schedule next year. So there will be the ability to have a little pull out. It just might look a little different. And then Tier 3 is going to probably happen at like a one-on-one or maybe one-on-two, like one adult working with like one student or maybe two students at a time. because those kids really need something more intensive.
Can I ask another question?
Yeah, go.
Yeah, okay. And this was also Dion, I think. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
When do you think that we would see the results of the team going into, it was DPW and Yankee Ridge? And will we get some sort of report on that? Oh, okay, that was Yolanda, sorry.
That's okay. We're interchangeable.
I had the wrong name written down.
So the person that we work with, we have been informed that they are a little behind because they are doing all these needs assessments across the state.
Mhm.
And so they do not have a date for us, but once we get a date, you all will also have a copy of that as well.
Okay, but you don't know when it'll be?
They have not told us yet.
Okay. And Yolanda, I think I have the right one this time. Thomas Paine was the only school that you didn't have a designation by. Do you know what the designation was for? And I was wondering why they got so much more money than DPW and Yankee Ridge, didn't they?
So Thomas Paine is from a previous designation. And so all of the schools, Dr. Williams, Yankee Ridge, Lille, and King School, are all newly designated this year. And so the first year for every single school is always a planning year. And so those 4 elementary schools are all in planning years. Thomas Paine and the middle school are from a previous designation. So this is Thomas Paine's last year, Urbana Middle School's second year.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, that was my question. I was just
But
wondering.
it is a 4-year cycle. So they have 4 years that they are on this cycle.
Okay. And I would like to work on the truancy thing. So if you said you were looking for people, or were you, no, that was the wellness committee. Never mind.
All right, board members, additional questions or comments?
I just have a quick question. Could you give me more information about the kindergarten readiness camp and the first grade jumpstart? How many students can be serviced or participate in that program?
Sure.
And how long it is?
It's a week. It's August 5th through the 9th. And right now we have budgeted enough for 3 classrooms for each. So we can take up to 60 kids for both of them. We're not, hopefully we get that many, but we don't know right now. We have about 18 signed up for first grade jumpstart. And we have about 21 signed up for kindergarten readiness, but it's still early. So we normally get more usually for kindergarten readiness. We usually have about 30 to 40 kids who sign up, and this is the first year for Jumpstart. So we're hoping to get more. I did put it in the Family Focus that was published yesterday. And Kelly Allen, who's a kindergarten transition coordinator, has been working directly with teachers to mail letters home and make phone calls directly to students who would best benefit. So we're doing different layers of outreach to try to get the kids registered, and we have time.
Can I add one thing? One thing that we changed this year, Deanna is smiling at me because so we used to do the kindergarten readiness camp in June, and then the 5-year-olds have the whole summer to kind of remember all the things that they learned. So this year we trying something new. We're going to see how it goes. We're doing it the week before school started because that way it'll be really fresh, right? Like they'll hopefully learn, all the classroom routines, just what it means to be a kindergartner. And so when they come in that next week, our first graders too, they'll be way more confident. They'll get a little bit of a peek into the new curriculum. And so we're trying it. We'll see how it goes. So something different.
And it also looks like we were very fortunate to have the funding so that we could purchase all that new curriculum this year before that money's gone. So, and I see the importance of making that decision this year. So, thank you.
So Title I doesn't pay for our Title I teachers anymore? Did the district pays for Title I teachers?
Yes. The district picks up the cost for the literacy interventionists. We don't pick that up anymore, but we have the instructional coaches instead. And the reason, honestly, is just cost. They wouldn't fit in the grant with the allotment that we have, so we just had to do some blending and braiding and sharing the funds to make sure that they could all be funded.
Okay.
A lot of our literacy interventionists have worked in the district. They're really, really veteran teachers, so they're at the top of the salary schedule. And so when you have that many staff, what is it, 21 of them, and they're all really highly veteran folks, just their salaries alone won't fit in the grant anymore.
Right. And the Title III grants, are they all per pupil grants, or are they competitive grants?
So of the ones that I mentioned, they are per pupil calculated. Yes, so LIEP, which I think back in your time was possibly called LipLep still, is now called LIEP. So yeah, that one is definitely a per pupil, which has been steady, but because I also sit on the state advisory board for ISB, for the bilingual advisory board, we are getting notice that that might go down in the future, so.
For the kindergarten readiness program, so you said there's only like 60 slots. So say if you got more than 60, is there like a wait list or something like
Absolutely.
that? Okay.
We've never had to use one.
Okay. And then is it like, do you have people there who can like translate into other languages? Like how many other languages?
It depends on who signs up to teach. So we
Okay.
normally always have a French and a
Mhm.
Spanish-speaking teacher. We had that last year, and we hope to have it again this year. But it's just based on who applies for the position because it is summer. So sometimes it's hard to find staff, but we haven't had a problem yet.
Do you have like those like applications for not just a kindergarten readiness program, but to like apply there as a job in other languages, or is it just like in English?
No, it's for anyone who wants to apply.
No,
We'll
I mean
take
like,
it.
do you have like the applications like written in other languages? No. Okay.
We do those things for families, but not for staff. But if
Not for
someone
staff,
asks, we can
okay.
do it. But we do it. We do all of the translations for families, but
Mhm.
we don't do them for staff because our staff need to be bilingual.
Okay.
And I know Angie's not here, so it's to explain kind of our hiring platform.
Mhm.
It's one main platform that we use for every single position in the district. It is a software program that is only in English. Now, if a person's computer is set to translate that web page, that would be an option. When we've had open job fairs and things, we've had interpreters on site to help at the job fairs to help people that need it. But a lot of our positions, you know, even with our dual language teachers, like they do have to have proficiency in both languages.
Yeah. Okay, that's fair. I do have one more question. So I saw on one of the slides it said that you guys went over a lot of stuff for the curriculum for IEPs and gave a lot of help for people with IEPs. I was wondering, what work have you done for people with 504 plans?
I appreciated your slide. I paid very close attention to that because that
Thank
falls under my
you.
department. It is something that when I came into this position, knew we were really struggling with as a district. And so just today in a meeting, I did a lot of explanation and education about 504s. We held some pretty extensive training with our counselors at the middle school and high school this year. We we'll be discussing it at our administrative institute this summer, and it is a high priority for me, and I completely understand what you're saying in terms of people not understanding the legality of it. And I think what's truly fascinating about 504s is IEPs last from 3 to 22, and 504s are eligible for people throughout their lifetime in different employment and accessibility situations. So I appreciate what you shared. I'd be happy to meet with you and hear more of your specific concerns. They're the concerns that I have and concerns we talk about as a department pretty frequently. We do have a new updated manual, and we're working to improve our forms as well.
Okay, thank you. Is there a way I could get in touch with you?
Yes.
Okay.
I'll give you my card.
Thank you. So, I was trying to remember what I was going to say. Oh, at the district, or what is it, the Administration Institute Day? What exactly are you going to be sharing with them about 504 plans?
So we talk pretty extensively about the legal component of it, what is required, what the process should look like in terms of eligibility. We talk about whose roles are a part of that process. And unfortunately, in terms of 504s, it's not a, you know, for special education, people go to school for that, right? And people aren't going to school to become 504 implementers or coordinators. And so it's really around experience. People have that experience and learn through it. But training district administrators, building administrators, and then at the elementary level, our special education staff tend to monitor 504s along with the administrators, whereas at the secondary staff, due to numbers, it does fall down to counselors and other support staff. And we haven't had ongoing training regularly over time. We know that sit in one training, getting it, and then moving on isn't a way to learn and experience it. You have to keep it ongoing, because when you experience something, then the information we shared back in August becomes meaningful. So we're going to keep doing those ongoing trainings.
Okay, so like, is there a way you could like try to get some of that, like, I don't, like training or methods to the teachers, because a lot of times the teachers are the ones that are ignoring the 504 plans. And I just want to find a way so that more students don't have to get points off for, like, for example, spelling when they're dyslexic, or not be able to take breaks when they have ADHD.
I think, and I'm not sure, I do believe that we might, that all teachers might have a vector training on 504. And I know your face is the same as mine, Dr. Ivory Datum. And so all staff do engage in a one time a year training that's a reminder about 504s. You know, it's unfortunate that I have to say, but advocacy for oneself is really important in these situations. And I think if we're, you know, coming up against staff members who don't have a full understanding of it and aren't treating it right, then there definitely are mechanisms within our school to go to the next people. That's not fair for people to have to do that, but that is a part of the process of trying to make sure all of our staff are aware. In terms of training for teachers, I will make that a priority for our administrators to understand how important it is. And I think your slide will be a huge component of that when we meet this summer.
Thank you for trying to help us a lot. It means a lot. And I'm glad that the teachers have the 504 training. I just hope that they remember it. Yeah.
Me too.
All right. Anybody else?
Again, about 504s, I was asked to go to some parent-teacher conferences at the Urbana Middle School to advocate for someone with a 504 plan, which I did. But I think sometimes, and I don't know how exactly you would do it at the larger schools, but sometimes teachers are totally unaware that a student has a 504 plan and just attributes everything to spacing out and so I think some sort of better communication about that would be really helpful.
Definitely. I definitely agree with that. There's been times when, like, my teachers didn't even get my 504 plan at all. Yeah.
I think that goes back to ongoing training, but I will also just put out there that our student database management system, Skyward, does note anyone who has a 504 or an IEP or a significant health need. So that alert is there for every staff member.
But it doesn't give any information.
The alert is there, then I have a responsibility, and for several, the 504 is attached to that. Not everybody has it attached in the Skyward, but it's absolutely a note that's there. We fully recognize that we have some professional development that needs to happen around 504s. I'm not in any way going to deny that. But all of our staff members have a responsibility to be aware of that and to know that, and to be curious and question what they need to know about it.
Okay, any additional questions, comments? All right, thank you. I think probably some of you are staying for the next SEL committee report, or at least one.
I'm losing my team, but I can do this. John, are you controlling this? No, I didn't know if I was supposed to. Thank you. So I'm going to give you a brief overview of social emotional learning updates of what we've been working on this school year in the district. I did include in the PowerPoint our Urbana social emotional learning beliefs, vision and mission. We worked on this as a social emotional learning committee last year and finalized them in 2022. We spent a lot of time researching other school districts, thinking about what we wanted it to look like as a district, and we came up with the ones that you see in the presentation. This year, we also published our staff SEL playbook. One thing that we heard a lot from staff members was that they wanted more information about what social emotional learning was supposed to look like. At the elementary level, for over 10 years, we've used Second Step. The middle school didn't care for Second Step much, so they've used bits and pieces of things. They have positive action. They use character traits, zones of regulation, and the high school has kind of done a variety of things, and due to scheduling, it's more difficult at the high school level. So what we created, just to be responsive of what our staff was asking for, is a full SEL playbook. So if you have the electronic version that Ms. Johnson sent out, you can open and go through the playbook. It includes our district character traits, the 5 social emotional learning competency lessons that go along with them, ideas, and then some research and rationale for the importance of social emotional learning. And we will update that over the summer to just, again, I sent out a social emotional learning survey. About 81 staff members completed it, so I will take some of their feedback. A lot of people gave really open and honest feedback. They want things that are easy, quick to use, that don't take away from their content area, but also allow them to establish relationships with students. So we will include more of that information in the next version of the staff SEL playbook. To go along with supporting staff with supporting social emotional learning in their classroom, each month I publish the social emotional learning spotlight. It includes information about the character trait of the month, the SEL competency of the month, teaching strategies, videos and other information and lesson plans and links to information to help teachers incorporate social emotional learning in their classrooms, because again, one thing that staff members have asked for is something that's quick and easy to use to connect with their students. So the SEL Spotlight does include some of those tips. You do also have a link to all of the social emotional learning spotlights from September to May in the digital form of this presentation. This is our second year for having Social Emotional Learning Week district-wide. It's a time to celebrate and spotlight the power of social emotional learning. Each school gets a list of activities that they can do during the week. They are not required to follow this list, but everyone is required to celebrate social emotional learning. I asked teachers to send in pictures, so this adorable picture is from Miss Jones at Yankee Ridge of one of their activities, and I did include a few artifacts. Gerber School had their first Social Emotional Learning Week. Urbana Middle School had a wonderful plan. And then we had our first adult SEL soiree in March. We will have another one this Thursday of just a time for staff members to get together to talk. We have different social emotional learning activities for them. Bodyworks has donated 12 massages for us on Thursday. So 12 people won massages for 10 minutes. We will have art activities, a table of books, resources, coloring activities, self-affirmation stations, snacks, etc. You are all welcome to join us. It's this Thursday from 4 to 5 in the cafetorium at Urbana Middle School. The Social Emotional Learning Pilot, we have been talking about for a couple of years now that we need a new program. The Second Step kit that we use now is old. A lot of the teachers complain that it's just not responsive to our students' needs in this day and age in 2024. So we have spent an extensive amount of time this year researching social emotional learning programs, connecting them to CASEL, the CASEL competencies. We picked 3. So first, we sent out a survey via email. We also put it on Facebook. We contacted as many parents as possible. We had 5 parents that signed up to be on the committee, 1 community member, and 29 staff members that signed up to be on the committee. After I got that list, and all of the names of everyone who signed up are linked in the presentation as well. After I got the names, I sent out a doodle poll to figure out what day and time worked best for everyone. Thursday from 4 to 5 was the best time that met for the majority. So we agreed to meet 5 times via Zoom. And this SEL pilot program committee, I'd like to say everyone volunteered. It was not a stipend position. So they did volunteer to meet 5 times for an hour each. And they also did work outside of the school day to look at the list of programs, and we wanted to make sure that we had a program for pre-K through 12 that was available in English, Spanish, and French. Unfortunately, we weren't able to find a program in French, but we were able to find 3 good programs in Spanish. It took quite a bit of time to find programs that had quality Spanish because some of the programs had dubbed over Spanish and it was poorly done, and we would not put that in front of our students. So we have narrowed it down to 3 programs that we will pilot next school year. Those 3 programs are Enter Explorer, Second Step. This is a newer version. It's a digital version that is current and updated, and they also have a high school component. This is the first year that the high school program has been available. It was just completed last month in April, and it will be in full-blown, ready-to-go implementation in the fall. And then we have 7 Mindsets. So those are the 3 programs that teachers will be able to volunteer to pilot next school year. The teachers, once they pilot the programs, it'll be a full year, and teachers who are not piloting the programs will use the same programs that their school is currently using. So we will not be halting social emotional learning support in the other classrooms. They will continue to use what they're using, but we are asking for volunteers. Right now, I probably have about 10 volunteers. I've sent messages to the principals to ask them for more. Social emotional learning community members are also piloting and asking people to pilot with them. These are the 3 programs. There's more information about each. They are all online programs. There are links to kind of give you an overview of each program. What we tried to look for were programs that were quick, easy to implement, but still gave some substance and some times to build relationships, social emotional learning skills of self-management, social awareness, responsible decision-making, etc. So there's Enter Explorer. Second Step, the digital version, and I keep stressing that because it's not the same as what we currently have. And then 7 Mindsets. Any questions?
Board members, any questions or comments?
I have a question. The first one is, so you were talking about social emotional learning in UMS and then some of the elementary schools, right?
All schools.
All schools.
All
So
schools.
are they at UHS too?
Correct.
SEL. What I was looking for it and I didn't see the exact types of SEL at UHS. Sorry, could you refresh that for me, please?
You didn't miss it, so thank you for catching that. We don't have a specific program at the high school
Mhm.
right now. That's why we're trying to find something district-wide. So the high school does not have a program.
Okay, I was just wondering because I feel like the high school really needs some type of SEL because there's been a lot of fights and threats and violence. And we were having a cleanup day at UHS and with the PTA,
Mhm.
and we found a bullet inside of the student parking lot, and it was huge. So I think a lot of SEL is needed.
I agree. You do have a professional learning community of social emotional learning at the high school, and they're working on small things, but as in terms of an actual curriculum, you are correct, you do not have one, and that's why we worked really hard to find a pre-K through 12, because traditionally the programs for SEL just haven't fit high school, because we wanted to find something that's not babyish, right, but something that's
Yeah.
relevant to the things that you're talking about, of what helps you not fight. How do you self-manage? How do you get along with other people? How do you learn how to walk away? How do you learn how to manage your emotions? So that's what we're really looking forward to, is getting that piloted in the high school so that we can get feedback from teachers, but also students of which program was most relatable to you.
That's great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anyone else?
What's the process going to be for evaluation of the 3 programs and deciding which one goes to go forward?
That is an excellent question. It's going to be a lot of anecdotal conversations because we're not going to have cold hard data, but we'll get together once a quarter. So everyone that's piloting the program will get together and talk about how's it going. We'll have representatives from each program available to ask questions, but we're really going to have conversations about what worked best for your students as a group, and then we will get together and figure and look at criteria of which one do we think will best fit our students. So in terms of hardcore data, we're not going to have any. It's really going to be conversations with teachers, with staff, with parents, and students of what worked best for you. So we don't have anything fully worked out yet, but I can tell you that it's going to be a lot of conversations and just getting information and feelings and connectivity of the programs.
in terms of financial obligations to the district, is if we roll this out district-wide, is there going to be like a yearly fee or a one-time fee, or?
It'll be a yearly fee, and all three of the, whichever program we pick, they all have different prices. For the pilots, we will have to pay a small fee for the pilots for each of those three, but for the other ones, you're correct, it will be a yearly fee because they are digital. So we will work with lowering the costs and bargaining as best we can because we are a larger district. But I can't give you an actual cost because I don't know which one we're going to go with.
Sure. Thank you.
Sherry?
I can see how it could be implemented in a self-contained classroom, but how will it be decided who is going to address and present it in a middle school or a high school situation? As
What
far
do
as the classes, which classes?
Which one
will
will pilot or which ones will use it?
Which ones will use them? I mean, how will it be used in the middle school and high school? Because they're different teachers teaching different subjects.
Well, for the middle school, they have an advisory period, and that's when they do social emotional learning. Now, for the high school, that's a great question. We're still working that out to figure out how that will work with exactly what you said with the schedule. We know, as you said, Paulina, it has to happen. So we are working with Mr. Guzman to figure out how we can best make that fit into the schedule because of the rigor, the academic rigor of the high school. But we will make it work because we know it has to work, and maybe once a week. We're not exactly sure yet, but we're going to work on that. You're welcome.
If it happens for the high school, as like we have certain classes that you have like 2 classes, which is personal finance and independent living, but you only have to take one of them. So you can either take personal finance or independent living, but you have to take it at least, and civics, but that's one semester. But you have to take it at least once during high school to be able to graduate. And so you could do like SEL, you have to take it for like a semester or a quarter, at least once during your high school years to be able to graduate or whatever, or to be able to move on to the next whatever. Because if you don't want to like have SEL be implemented like every single year, because that could be very like hard for some high schoolers to balance another class with all the extra things like jobs and homework and classes. So if you wanted to do something that was more like required and that high schoolers could still do with all of the rest of the load that they have.
Thank you.
All right. Anybody else? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to action items. First is the renewal of the MTD contract. Who do we have for that?
Sorry. I didn't have too much to add on this. This is the annual renewal of the MTD transportation contract for next year. The costs did increase, but we pay 35% of the actual costs from the last audited year of the program. So it's really a steep discount that they're providing this service for, but their costs have increased just like we've seen everywhere else. So that's the increase year over year, which was on the memo. But I recommend approval of this contract with MTD for next school year.
I move acceptance of the MTD contract.
Is there a second?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Member Baxley?
Yes.
Member Hickson?
Yes.
Member Jones?
Yes.
Member Staton?
I think she's dropped off.
Okay. Member Lang?
Yeah. she
Okay.
has-
Member Langendorf, yes. President Plowski?
Yes.
Vice President Exum?
Yes. Motion passes. All right, 6th grade center switchgear. I believe that's Randy.
We received bids for the Urbana 6th grade center on April 30th. We had one contractor submit a bid. It was Remco Electric with a bid of $101,000. IGW and USD Facilities have reviewed this bid, and with the scope of the work, Remco's comfortable with their bid. Based on the information, we are recommending that the bid be accepted for this with a 10% bid contingency of $10,000 for unforeseen conditions.
What's switchgear?
It supplies the electric for the building.
Okay, thank you.
Just for, I guess, to put this out there, I received a question from the public asking whether or not the purchase of this equipment was dependent on what programming is offered in that building. You know, basically, if the district decides not to go through with the sixth grade center, will this money be wasted?
We had to upgrade the electric no matter what, even if we put in a HVAC system. Because right now we have window units, and if we go with a upgraded HVAC system, we would need more electrical. I don't know what the size would have had to been. If it was to stay as the size of the building it is now compared to, I don't know how those run, if there's like a small, medium, and a large, say.
Sure.
I just don't know that without asking our electrical engineers.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments?
I have one question. So about the sixth grade center, do you guys know around the time when the board will vote on that?
Yeah, we'll talk about that.
Okay.
Special meetings coming up.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
I had a quick comment as well, just to, the reason that this is being brought before the rest is because of the lead time for this equipment. So they wanted to get this was a separate bid package just for this piece of equipment, so we could get it ordered and get it ahead of the rest of the full bid package for the building improvements.
It said it was a 1-year lead time on it.
So would the purchase of this equipment further commit the board to the sixth grade center project? Because we don't have the money yet. We haven't really exactly agreed. Is this just general work, even if the sixth grade center doesn't happen?
We have to have upgraded electrical in the building.
But
I think the answer is yes, because
Yes.
we have the solar panels that are coming in, and this equipment is needed for those. And
For
the solar panels have already been voted and approved by the board.
yes, the solar panels have, but we wouldn't be told later, oh, well, but we already spent this money on electrical, so we don't want to waste it.
No matter what happens with that building, we have to have
The
this
power to
in order
supply.
to have, I can't imagine in 2024, we would be moving people into that building and putting them with window units.
Oh, no.
So if we want to have central air in this building for whoever's there, we need to have this
And for
upgrade.
whatever the size.
For whatever the size, we need to have an upgraded electrical system.
Well, upgraded electrical, but this large,
Yes.
okay?
Like I said, I don't know the exact size. Like I said, I don't know if there's a small, a medium, and a large
Mm-hmm.
that would fit the building,
Mhm.
or depending on what's voted on.
But the point is, the board has approved us moving forward with all the things that we need to do to prepare for the sixth
Prepare for
grade
the sixth
center.
grade center.
And this is one of the things that we need to do in order to prepare for the sixth grade center, if we want to be
Especially
able
since it has
to
a year.
deliver a building on time
1-year lead
for
time
August
it.
of 25, 26.
They're upgrading the whole electrical from the street all the way to the building as well. Ameren's doing that, upgrading the cables, everything.
So the sixth grade center wouldn't be implemented in the 24-25 school year at all?
25, 26 school
Okay.
year.
So like, okay, yeah. Thank you.
It's gonna take us a year just to get this equipment,
Okay.
basically.
Thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions or comments? Sherry, did you have something?
I was going to move.
Okay.
Have we?
Well, let's just make sure no
Okay.
other questions or comments. Okay, go ahead.
I was going to move that we approve this service, the switchgear.
I'll second that.
Let's do a roll call.
Member Langendorf, yes. Member Jones?
Yes.
Member Hickson?
Yes.
Member Baxley?
Yes.
President Pulowski?
Yes.
Vice President Exum.
Yes, motion passes. Is there a call for
Yep.
future executive meetings?
So we have two that were not available in time to have them published on the agenda. So the first, Lori Johnson has been polling the board for, we need a Laudermill hearing to address some personnel matters. Based on the board's doodle poll that you completed, it looks like May 30th at 6 o'clock is what the majority of board members have indicated for their availability. So we're still waiting to hear from one person, but we have 5 people available for May 30th at 6 o'clock. So we're going to move forward with that. We'll let our attorney know and Dr. Franklin. And then the second special meeting is related to the 6th grade center. So initially, our architects were planning to, we have a timeline, and we're frantically getting ready for the bids to bring back to the board. That was supposed to happen on June 18th. However, that was going to be at our last official meeting for the year, for 23-24 school year. But last week we were at a meeting with the architects at the middle school talking about the building and bids and specs and everything. And we received information from the band and music department indicating that the current 5th grade band and strings classes are a little larger than originally expected in terms of the number of students who want to continue in band as 6th graders. So in order to accommodate and make that room a little bit bigger than what was currently designed or programmed, we needed to go back and touch the drawings a little bit, which when you do that, it changes your timeline a little bit. And so they needed a little more time to get the bid specification paperwork completed. So instead of bringing that presentation to the board on June 18th as planned, they are asking if we can have a special meeting on June 25th. I sent everybody an email earlier, so you don't have to tell me now. But if you could respond to that email to let us know if you're available on June 25th at 6. We usually have special meetings a little earlier. That would probably be our only agenda item for the night. We wouldn't have a full agenda. We'll be done with all of our board business hopefully by June 18th. And we would just have our architects come and present the current scope of the 6th grade center with the final bids and costs, and that would happen on June 25th. So if you could reply to my email, let me know if you're available, and then I will be able to let Scott Walker, IGW, know so we can move forward with that.
What company does the architects?
Our IGW, the gentleman who's been coming from Isaacson, Glarum, and he's been coming and doing presentations all year.
Okay. Would he be able to, or would you guys, like all the students have been asking me, if you guys would be able to talk to him about expanding the orchestra room because they really need to be expanded.
That's what I was just talking about. Yeah. That's the room that we're making a little bit bigger.
The one in the high school, though, not the middle school.
Yeah.
And
that is different funding.
Room. We have to expand the.
So would it be the same person? I mean, the same people, same company?
Well, he could do whatever we ask him to do if we have the money to do it. So right now we don't have the additional funding to do that.
There's a lot of facility needs in the district beyond this. I mean, there's talk about changing the space for our industrial arts program. There's a whole facilities plan for the campus land use study that was done a few years ago with lots of suggested things. I think one of the things that's going to come out of our strategic planning process in the fall is trying to figure out the priority order for some of these tasks.
Okay, so you're gonna take like all the facility needs that need to be done in the district, and then like put them in priority so you can like start to tackle them.
Yeah. So if you want to go back and look, Katie and Randy did a presentation in February. We had a whole night dedicated kind of to talking about facilities. And Katie shared some of our short-term needs and then some of our long-term needs. And so we have a list that the district has kind of prioritized a little bit, and the only reason we prioritize them is because they're safety related.
Yeah, of course.
So like eventually we're going to have new bleachers at the high school and at the middle school, and we're going to have new turf, and so there's some things that are already on that list because they are time sensitive. But then the other things we need more input on in terms of what our next big project will be. So what was that, February 21st?
Okay.
Yes, it's all on the list. That was on our list, but yeah.
Okay. So Katie, you said the high school orchestra room was on the list? Okay,
yes, it's on that list.
Good. Would you be able to put the gender neutral bathrooms on the list too, please? Thank you.
There are spaces in the high school that could be become gender neutral
Yes,
spaces
that's what I was
where,
thinking.
you know, making bathrooms in a building is really, really expensive. But there's spaces that already exist that could be reclaimed or renamed
Yeah,
or
especially since the
repurposed.
teachers have more bathrooms than the gender neutral people there.
So that's something we can talk to Mr.
Yeah.
Guzman about for sure.
Yeah, Jennifer, isn't that a building?
Hmm?
Isn't that a building?
Yes, that's something that the building should.
Does, not
Yep,
typically
that's,
facilities.
Yeah,
definitely.
because a lot of times the teachers use the student bathrooms too, so
Mm.
they have a lot of bathrooms. But yeah,
So if you have an email from me about June 25th, if you could just respond to the email, please, that'd be great.
And speaking of all the needs of the other facilities, it seems like, I mean, I think Paul and I both got a question from somebody, and about the bond for the sixth grade center. And I basically replied to him, you know, because he said, I'll be pleasantly surprised if I get a response. And I said, well, for sure from me, because I know nothing about this. But I decided to expose my ignorance and just ask neighbors who were in econ about it. And so this one man was very nice. It's not somebody I even really know, and explained it to me in ways that I could sort of understand it. And I took what he said and wrote it down. And so I wrote it down, and I thought, well, I'll just give everybody a copy of what he
So
said.
before you explain what somebody from the public shared, Katie put together some very detailed responses to those questions that she shared with Paul, but Paul's been traveling and just came back into town from his son's graduation, so he hasn't caught up on all of his emails yet. So I guess I would rather Katie explain, because she's been working with our bond person more directly related to our bond. So Katie, if you want to pull that document up that you shared with Paul, that you could maybe, is that okay, Paul, if she just shares it now instead of you? I know you were going to email probably, but you haven't had a chance yet. Yes, you've been in the car for, what'd you say, 24 hours? So please share what you still have, pass it around, but I think
Okay.
I'd like Katie to share specifically
sure.
about.
No,
what-
that's fine.
Yep.
So the first question that was asked was, during the next few years, approximately how much pay-as-you-go funding would be required for the sixth grade center project? So the tentative project budget is currently just over $24 million. However, it's important to note that that's tentative. Approximately $1 million of the project scope has already been completed of that $24 million from the facilities pay-as-you-go sales tax funding on the asbestos abatement and on the architectural services that we've received to date for design of the facility. The sources that will pay for the remaining $23 million to be completed will be finalized after final bids have been received from contractors in June. So until we know what the final project costs with final bids, we can only estimate what amounts will be needed from bonds or from facility sales tax. We have the board's authority to issue up to $23 million in bonds. So any amount of the total project cost that exceeds this amount would be paid from facility sales tax pay-as-you-go funds. Another factor to consider is that the project budget also includes $1.5 million in construction contingency. So if these amounts are not needed, they can be released from the total $24 million project budget and wouldn't be spent. But until the project is underway and change orders start to be processed, we wouldn't know what contingency is needed or not. So we're kind of right at that threshold that we may be able to do it all with bonds and no pay-as-you-go money other than what we've already spent, the $1 million we've already spent. That's the first question. Do you have any follow-up questions to that one before I move on? Okay. The second question was, which revenue sources would be anticipated to have the uncommitted capacity in 2031 for payments on the theoretical 10 to 12 million new bond issuance? The capacity in 2031 is available in the district's bond principal and interest levy tax-backed bonds. Stiefel recommends that we would issue these bonds to the district's debt service extension base to keep the tax rate stable. So it's a tax-capped debt service extension base. It's one of the funds that we levy every year. but it doesn't require voter approval because it doesn't extend beyond the debt service extension base that's allowed by the law. Would the, sorry. Yeah, so the debt service extension base is the amount that we can levy up in our bond, principal and interest levy, that we use to issue the rolling working cash bonds that we primarily use for summer working cash projects and technology projects. Would payments for these new bonds need to be interest only, and if so, approximately for how long? The structure of the bonds in 2031 that we have the capacity to issue is dependent upon inflation growth factors, such as the debt service extension base, which grows by the change in the consumer price index. And it also would be dependent on interest rates in the future, which we can't predict. So it's too early to state whether the bonds would have interest-only phase or for how long. Of course, we could delay issuing them until we would need an interest-only phase. The term and structure of these bonds would be considered as part of the current economic environment at the time that we are ready to issue them. Any follow-up questions on that? Just because we have the capacity to issue them in 2031 doesn't mean we need to, is what I'm trying to say. So, you know, it's just the timing. So would the percentage of sales tax revenue reserved for pay-as-you-go funding need to be reduced to accommodate the new bond payments? No, not at this time. The 2031 bonds would be paid from the bond principal and interest tax levy if we were to issue them. The capacity for future facilities sales tax back bonds and their effect on available pay-as-you-go funding would be considered in relation to future economic environment in the times in which those bonds are contemplated. Does that make sense?
I have to admit, I hated my school finance course. I was not good at it. This, as a general, I gave you this page.
I don't have it
And
yet, but-
could you tell me how what you said fits into this? Because I don't understand. I don't understand.
Okay.
So what this man told me, he said the district is essentially borrowing $20 to $30 million to pay for the center. The debt will be paid back using county schools facility sales tax. And there are currently old debts that must still be paid back using this sales tax revenue. But any revenue above these old obligations can be used to pay for other facilities projects on a pay-as-you-go basis. The memo suggests that some portion of these pay-as-you-go funds will also be used to pay for the sixth grade center, but it isn't clear how much over what time. Do you agree with that?
I agree with that, but I also stated in the answer to the first question that we've committed already and spent about $1 million of pay-as-you-go funding in the current year, and that we don't have any commitment into next year because we don't have any final bids. We have the authority to issue up to $23 million. The current project budget, which includes the $1 million we've spent, is $24 million. So we would only need to issue 23, and then we wouldn't need any facility sales tax funds beyond that.
Oh.
So, and if any project contingency isn't needed, then the total project budget won't even be 24 million. So we won't issue bonds that includes all of the contingency, because if you don't wind up needing it, then you have bond money that you couldn't spend.
Right. I have to tell you, we did some renovations on the house, and it's good to have a contingency fund.
Absolutely. But we also have the pay-as-you-go funds. So, I mean, that's
Right.
a source that we're bringing in, every single year, a considerable amount of money that can be used for facilities projects in addition to the bonds. So,
Okay. Well, then this man said, and he's an econ professor. I don't know, but he made sense to me, and I'm not a significant concern is the risk that future sales tax revenues will not meet district projections. If so, there would be insufficient funds to pay for the sixth grade center or any other urgent facilities projects. One broader issue with the current bond is that it jumps the gun in getting this project started by cutting into sales tax revenues before the district is done paying off old debts. The way this is done is to make interest-only payments on the new bond until the old bonds are paid off in fiscal year 2028. This raises the overall cost for the sixth grade center because so much of the bond payments is going to pay interest rather than principal.
That's the cost of issuing debt on it. I mean,
Right.
yes, that is all very correct. And I don't think that, I think we've been very transparent about that the entire time
Oh,
when we
I'm not s-
presented the bond schedules.
I'm
So,
not saying
you know,
you're
when
not
you want to, when you want to do a project now, that's how you get the funding to do it.
Okay. Some additional questions. There's a concern that committing funds from this bond to the sixth grade center will constrain the ability of the district to make other necessary investments in facilities in the next decade. The memo tries to assuage these concerns by saying that we can issue more bonds in 2031. The worry is that we will again have to borrow at relatively high cost because payments on any new bonds issued would come on top of the payments made on the current 2024 bond, which will not be paid off until 2036. So I guess my question is, as a CPA accountant, I don't know what your credentials are. I'm sure you're better at this than I am. As a CPA accountant, are you saying that in 2031, the district will be financially able to borrow again? Or are you saying the district will be legally able to borrow again? And an expense, this would be another expensive loan because we won't have paid back the loan we've got. So what would be, and again, how would we pay it back?
Well, we have the capacity in 2031 because a different bond will have been paid off. We have multiple bonds right now with different payback schedules. So at the time that 2031 becomes available, it's because the previous bond that was taking its spot where we were making interest and principal payments has been fully repaid. So, I mean,
But
legally
it
versus
wouldn't have been fully
financially.
repaid.
During the time that we've had the
Yeah,
sale,
I mean-
during the time we've been lucky enough to have the sales tax revenue, and thank you, Champaign County,
Yes.
for voting that in. We have used roughly 2/3 of that revenue stream, which started off about $3 million a year and has now grown to about $4.5 million a year, steadily increased during that time. 2/3 towards existing debt. Some of that was like property tax based debt that was used to expand Leo back in the day. And we were able to pay that off early because we made a promise to the citizens of Urbana that that's how we would spend that revenue stream, is by paying off the property tax based referendum passed bonds early. So we had, if you notice in your property tax bills about 2 years ago, they dipped a little bit because of that from us. But going forward, we're going to still be able to roughly keep that 2/3, 1/3 ratio, where we're keeping 1/3 of that money for things that come up, like we refurbished the commons area in the high school with that revenue. So the way that this is structured, the way we're planning on doing this debt purchase, isn't going to be anything different than what we have been doing for the past 15 years. 2/3 and 1/3.
And I got to admit, I have had people, I have to say, I get a lot of email now that I'm on the board.
Everybody gets
Well,
an email.
I guess I just want to comment just quickly on the, it's just like a bit of an emotional context, but like a significant concern is the risk that future sales tax revenues won't meet the district's projections. That's never been something in our assumptions that our bond counsel and legal bond people have ever said. That's a very steady source of revenue.
Okay.
So that's not something that is a significant concern. So that's kind of a strange statement, but it was also from an economist. So it's kind of interesting that an economist had that frame of reference because that's not an
Well,
assumption
I
that's
think,
been given to me.
Yeah. I think if we, like for a long time, people were saying, will we go into a recession? Will we do this? But anyway, when I was going to say something, I can't remember what.
Well, and then,
Anyway,
yeah, I mean, just the way some of this is phrased, though. A broader issue with the current bond is that it jumps the gun to get a project started. I mean, that's literally just what bonds are for. You're issuing debt to do a project now instead of saving up for it until you can afford to do
And
the whole
nobody
thing.
is saying we should save up for it, but I think what I am saying is, would it be, I don't know how long it would be to wait until we could get a bond where we weren't paying the interest only.
I think it's 4 years, 3 or
Yeah.
4 years.
3 or
At
4
the
years.
beginning.
Mhm. Several years.
Several
It'd be
years.
it'd be three or-
Okay,
it'd be
several
three-
years.
Well, it'd be 3 or 4 years worth of interest-only payments, the way it's structured now.
Yep.
Okay. And so, I guess that is kind of jumping into it, to me, but that's just my opinion, so.
Is there anything any different about this than what we've done with any of our other projects?
No.
Thomas Paine, Yankee
In fact,
Ridge, or
it's
any of that?
better. It's a shorter term, and it meets a lot of the boxes. I mean, it maintains our 2/3, 1/3. That was the memo, was trying to give light to the fact that it's actually a really great time to do this, because it meets a lot of our boxes. All of our bonds have been longer than what this bond is going to be.
And that's what I was thinking, that this was actually a better deal.
Yeah, and the bond rates have improved a little bit. I mean, and they're not great, but, they're not what we saw 5 years ago, but they're still a lot better than they were a year ago. So we've been able to, that 23 million is now possible within that term that we were seeking. So I think it's all good stuff. I mean, that's why I was sharing that with the board.
Thanks. Any additional
I guess
questions or comments?
the one comment I'm getting from, this is what I was going to say, was I think because we all got our tax bills recently.
Well, yeah,
And
that's not
I
gonna
mean,
change.
I have heard a lot about,
Sure.
paying off the debt
but-
and reducing the taxes. Now, I have always voted for all the bond
But-
issues,
but,
so
I
I'm
mean,
not saying.
this has been something we need to clarify, though, because we're not using property tax-based sources to pay for this project. It is all sales tax-based revenue. We're just committing a certain percentage of that revenue stream over a portion of years to this. It is not coming from people's property taxes.
Yeah,
So,
we don't
okay,
have
that's a
any
question.
referendum bonds currently outstanding.
Yeah,
All
for,
of our
to,
referendum.
for us to,
even
for
the
us to
part
build a
that-
building with property tax revenue would take a vote from the people of Urbana, and we have not done that
And we're not
since
planning
I've
to
been
do
on the
that.
board, and
Since
given the relative difference between the property tax rates between Champaign and Urbana, and the fact that the higher tax rates in Urbana are impeding the growth of this city, I personally have absolutely no will to ask the people of Urbana to raise their property taxes.
Neither do I.
Yep.
All right, anything else on?
Okay.
All
Can I
right.
jump into
Superintendent report?
report? Okay. So John, you're driving. So I hope the board is aware, and you've seen lots of emails, that this is Teacher and Staff Appreciation Week. So as a district, we have been recognizing our staff. PTAs and PTSAs have been recognizing staff members at all the schools in very different ways. The buildings, we have had people come in and really just embrace our staff members. I know Stone Creek, I can't think of all the people that I've seen this week that have been like showering our staff with food and goodies. So I want to thank the community and our parents and families, for our administrators, for really showing our staff how much we appreciate them and their dedication and commitment to Urbana. So happy Teacher Staff Appreciation Week this week. Enjoy the rest of the week. The mayoral recognition program is tomorrow. So this is our third year of the mayoral recognition program. Tomorrow we'll start off with the student resource fair at 4:30, performances. I know Paulina will be performing with mariachi. I think our dancers, we have about 4 or 5 student performances that are going to happen around 5 o'clock. And then there is an official program where we will recognize our Urbana High School students who have volunteered more than 10,000 hours in our community this year, which is wonderful. Any student who completes 30 hours of volunteer service during the year is recognized. Our guest speaker is Minnie Pearson, the president of the Champaign County NAACP chapter. Next, UMS band this weekend. Here's a great picture that was shared with me. Urbana Middle School band competed in the music in our Parks Festival at Six Flags in St. Louis and received first place in their division and were named Superior Middle School High School Band. I think there's an Ogalski in there and Keandre Towns. I don't have all the names in front of me, but congrats to those young men for their first place. Last week, as a prelude rather to the Teacher Appreciation Week, the CU Schools Foundation recognized our Shining Stars and Superstars. Shining Stars are teachers who are nominated by their peers for exemplary service, and Superstars are our support staff people who were nominated. So a couple of these names you heard tonight, who were also recognized as unsung heroes. I think almost several of them. Mario is down here, the multilingual teaching assistant that Dr. Franklin mentioned, had 7 nominations for unsung hero. He was also recognized as a superstar for his efforts. So Aaron Claxon from UMS, Les Kuntz from Dr. Williams, and Felicia Tefano from early childhood from UHS. And then Mario, Yolanda Fundamira, a teaching assistant at UHS, and Maggie Reyes at secretary at Leo. So congratulations. They were recognized with a certificate. CU Schools Foundation really celebrate all of our teachers at Riggs, and it was a great day. So it was another nice way to really show our staff how much we appreciate them. So thank you, CU Schools Foundation. We just want to make sure that everyone has the dates for upcoming promotions and commencement activities. Board members, hopefully you have indicated whether or not you're participating in graduation. Please let Lori know if you're going to be at 8th grade promotion on Wednesday the 29th, so we can have a space for you at the promotion ceremony. And then the 5th grade promotions are pretty much up to you if you want to attend any of those. Of course, you're invited to attend any and all. So you have the dates, but we also want to make sure people in the public are putting those dates in their calendars to plan ahead. On May 1st, last week, online registration opened for returning students only. We'll have a different opportunity for new families if there's anybody watching this who is new to Urbana. That will happen later at the end of July. I think July 31st is the first day for new students. But right now, online registration is open for returning students. So all of these links are live. You just need to go through the Skyward Family Access to register your students. If you need support, we have an email that you can email your question, your whatever is going on, and someone will get back to you. So we really need is the more people we can get registered by the end of the year, the better it is for us in terms of just planning for staffing, planning for transportation. I know a lot of the communication that we've been sending out to families is it is really, really important that, what is the deadline again, Katie? I didn't put it in this, but is it to the deadline for transportation if they don't? July 31st, thank you. So if you haven't registered by before July 31st, there is a really, really high risk chance that you are not going to have transportation for the first couple days of school. So we really need people to get in there and register. Upcoming dates, so the next week is Honors Night and the USD 116 staff retirement dinner. The retirement dinner is at 5:30, and the high school honors night is at 7 at Urbana High School. Memorial Day is May 27th, and May 30th is the last day of school. We also have a few FOIAs. Tom Schroeder requesting all text messages sent or received by the superintendent that included public employees, included public officials, or pertain to public business. The term text messages is inclusive of any similar short or instant messaging services. Since both 2 months of 1 month were denied, messages from the last 2 weeks of January 2024 are being requested. Deja Clayton, WAND 17. Any emails, texts, and documents between Urbana Middle School, the parent, and district from March 25th, 2024 through April 1st, 2024, regarding the incident where a student's neck was injured, except for documents exempt by Section 7. I'm also requesting security footage of when the incident occurred on March 25th, 2024. Tom Schroeder, I am requesting copies of the most recent certificate of completion for each person required to complete Open Meetings Act training pursuant to Section 1.05 of the Act. Tom Schroeder, I am requesting one student record for each K through 4th grade student who will have a different assigned school in 2024, 2025, compared to 2023, 2024. If available, I'm requesting current grade level, current assigned school, and new assigned school. In addition, any other general student information that wouldn't reveal individual student identities or violate privacy rights. Ryan Sims, Illinois Department of Revenue, substitute teachers assistant sign-in, sign-out sheet, and/or log for the following dates at USD 116 school buildings: April 8th, 2024, April 5th, 2024, January 19th, 2024, January 9th, 2024, January 5th, 2024, and December 8th, 2024. And then the specific buildings that they're asking for are located in there in the message. That is it.
All right. Any board reports?
In one of the questions that I sent you, I asked if I could read a very short email from a parent. And could I?
I don't know if you saw that email, Paul.
No, you haven't seen it. I think it was only to me.
There's no policy to prevent you from doing that. It's in practice. Like during COVID, we were reading any email that basically that arrived at us because people couldn't come here and address the board in citizen statements. But the board voted, a couple years ago to basically go back to the existing policy, which is to encourage people to come here and present. We get tons of emails and we can read those, and that's basically the preferred way. If somebody wants to email the board, just email the board instead of asking a board member to read. But it's your board report. You can do whatever you want.
Okay, and this person did not ask me to read it, and this person sent an email to everybody on the board, and I responded, and then she has sent 2 subsequent emails to me.
Sometimes people don't want those read, so I would be careful to just read a message that was sent to the board if they didn't.
I guess it's not about when I first began teaching. I said to a teacher who was more experienced, "Boy, this worked so well last year, this unit, and it's just not working this year." And Gloria said to me, "Jennifer, that's because you forgot. You're not teaching science, you're teaching children." And every year, they're different children. And I guess after reading this woman's email, and she in the previous email, she said that she had an anxiety disorder, so she didn't come to board meetings. And she told me she was special needs. And then this was just a short email. She said, "A point of me being special needs is, this is the school district, yeah? So they're assuming kids are the only ones with comprehension issues? School district presented their plan in a typical fashion, assuming everyone understood." And I guess for me, this was a very hard email to read because I constantly thought of messages to the community and not messages to the people, the persons. And I guess I want to say that I'm going to be better in how I think about that. And I'm hoping that in the future we will use more avenues to reach the persons who are involved. And now I do not know this person at all, but like I said, that statement kind of hit me. And I know Ben had asked about, well, have we asked people in this program? And it wasn't the time. And I said, well, did we ask the people who had been displaced from DPW if they wanted to come back? And we were told no, because it's part of redistricting. But it's my fault for not thinking of these as people and making sure that I just forgot that. I forgot. I didn't take to heart the lessons I learned when I first began teaching. And I guess that's all I wanted to.
Any other board reports?
Before we adjourn, I have a question. So you said that UHS Honors Night was
The 15th?
What exactly is UHS Honors Night?
So Honors Night is when all the seniors who will be recognized for their scholarships, for athletic awards, sportsmanship, citizenship, all the mayoral. Mayoral is used at a different. They do the mayorals at this program. So any seniors
is this completely separate thing?
Yes.
The first
tomorrow night.
mayoral.
First year we did
the
it
first year was
together. It
all
was really
together, but
long.
mayoral has just grown so much that
Yeah.
it deserves its own night.
So that's tomorrow night.
Okay. And then I have a question, then I had a comment. For the mariachi performance tomorrow, it says it starts at 5, but ours starts at 4:45 because there are too many groups. So if you guys wanted to see that, come at 4:45 and not 5. Yeah.
All right, any other board reports?
Yes, I just wanted to say that I attended the family math night at Leal, and I led an activity, and the kids were really caught on really quickly. And then I went to the fun fair at Thomas Paine, and I helped serve pizza. And if I had $1 for every time I said cheese, sausage, or pepperoni, it was anyway. I just want to compliment the parents who have worked so hard. I know they work all year long to organize, and they had wonderful activities for the children. Both activities were very well attended, so it was really nice to see that the children were there with their families and enjoying themselves. And I'd like to congratulate the parents who worked so hard on that. So,
Thanks, Sherry. Paul, you've got something?
Just real quick, I just want to give a thank you to the people for Urbana for supporting the arts in the way we do. I got to participate tonight in my son's very final orchestra concert. Not only, do we have a diversity of students, but diversity of music. We played everything tonight from Dvorak to I got to watch my son play Ozzy Osbourne on the violin. So electric violin at that. So it was a lot of fun.
Nice.
Was it live streamed so we can all go back and watch it?
I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm doubly glad I was able to attend. So
Yes, me too.
All right, anything else?
Oh, I went to the DPW. Yes, it was wonderful. It was absolutely wonderful. That principal there and the music teacher there, and the kids were great, and the mariachi was great.
All right, if nothing else, take the motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Is there a second? Lolly's off, so all in favor?
Aye.
All right. Meeting adjourned. 9:40.